Rock and roll. All right, who are we missing here? We got Mr. Baker Senior, myself, Ms. Shuttlesworth is here, Mr. Tansey is kicking around. All right, we're getting close. Getting close.
Hey, Rob. Seth here with WRPS. I just made you host.
Thank
We're
you,
already
sir.
live, and we're already recording. I think I'm going to head out if you guys are all set.
Get on out of here, sir.
All righty. Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All righty. Just shot out a text just to everybody, just to make sure everybody knew that the meeting was happening tonight, so. Tansey was here. What happened? All right, let's start making the phone calls. On to where you at? All right, so you're re-logging in? All right, I got other phone calls to make, so log in. All right. And Mr.
Hey guys, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah.
You can? Okay, good. I can't hear you though. I'm gonna fix it. Sorry, guys.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, sir.
Yeah, we should be good now. I heard you could hear me, and hope you could hear us.
Yes, we can.
What's going on? You
Great,
logged in?
thanks so much. You know, Mike's right here.
You'll see in a second.
George, he'll be part of it, but go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Trying. Uh-oh. Tim went right to voicemail. There he is. All right, there he is. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, board members are here. Steve, I just got off the phone with him. He is tagging in. He was just starting his computer up.
I had a hard time logging on. I was on and then it crashed and then it took me a long time to get back on.
Well, it's what happens when Bridgewater buys you the cheapest computer they can.
Actually, it's a good computer and this isn't Bridgewater's computer.
Oh, okay.
Like,
You're using your own computer. That's good. That's good.
It's a 2015 model.
Nice. Nice. We actually have to classify that as old school at this point.
Yeah. Doesn't even have Windows 10.
Nice. Nice. All right, Pat's here. All right, I got 7:30. We got a full board. Steve's going to be tagging in. So here we go. Welcome everybody to the May 31st, 2022 edition of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members will be participating remotely. That would be myself, Rob Rosa. That would be Bob Baker Sr. That would be Bob Baker Jr., Mr. Timothy Haynes, and Mr. Greg Tanzi. And again, as soon as he gets here, Stephen Galley will also be attending remotely. Let's see. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Got to need a second?
Second.
I got a second. I'm going to have to do a roll call. Mr. Baker Sr.,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
and Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Nice. All right. Let me read the public here. Let me read the public notice. 7:30 p.m. remotely conducted public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Rockland Old Exit 14 Inc. DBA Green Rock Cannabis, 1015 Hingham Street, Rockland, Massachusetts, for a special permit pursuant to section 415-19C19 marijuana establishment pursuant to section 415-38.5 and section 415-38.5 marijuana establishment to allow applicant to operate an adult use marijuana establishment engaged in the retail sale of marijuana and marijuana products at the premises known as and numbered 1015 Hingham Street, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the H1 Industrial Park Hotel Zoning District, section 415-19 of the bylaw, and is further identified as lot 11 map 4 on the Rockland Assessor's map. The owner of the property is 1015 Hingham LLC, 80 Washington Street, Suite J40, Norwell, Massachusetts, 02061. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information and remote meeting details. Okay, let's see. Let me reread this. The applicant, who is representing the applicant tonight? Mr. Lally, I need you to turn your mic on.
Right, Rob Lally. I'll be representing. I am the owner, founder of Old Exit 14 Inc.
Excellent, excellent. One question. Let me see. One thing is, I just want to make sure. One of the rules that we do have is that everybody has to put in at least their first initial and last name. So if you don't have your first initial, at a minimum, your first initial and your last name, you got to put it in. You may have to log back in to do that. So, all right, Mr. Lally, talk to the board.
Good evening. My name is Rob Lally. I'm the founder of Old Exit 14. I'm looking forward to presenting our proposal to you today. I am joined with my team today, Yasway Keys from Yasway Forster Consulting. Jerry Sealand is our architect. Jim Rader is the property owner. I don't see him on yet. And Bob Michaud from MDM Traffic Consultants will be joining us as well. I do have a short presentation that I'd like to go through with you, if that's all right.
Please do. If you need to share the screen, share the screen.
Great. Let me see how I get this done here. Okay, hold on. All right. All right, I'll start off by introducing myself. again, Rob Lally. I grew up in the South Shore and worked in the South Shore for most of my adult life. For the last 10 years, I've dedicated my profession in cannabis. I guess most relevant, I was the founder of Cultivate Holdings, which was one of the very first vertically integrated medical marijuana companies in the state of Massachusetts. We were also the first retail operation to open in the state of Massachusetts back in 2018. I have permitted over 120,000 square feet of grow, production, and retail space in the city of Leicester, Framingham, Worcester, and we sold the operation last year, and this was what's led me here today to come back to Rockland and try to permit the facility here at 1015 Hingham Street. I have other licenses and operations in other states. I'm part owner in a license in Hawaii. We have a vertically integrated facility in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I built about a 75,000 square foot facility in Washington as well. Prior to getting into cannabis, I was in casinos. We brought the first casino to the state of Maine. And prior to that, I worked in Rockland as our family was the Tedeschi family, and we were Tedeschi Realty and Tedeschi Food Shops. I was primarily in the grocery anchored business at Tedeschi Realty, and my co-owner is Greg Donahue, who's our COO. He was also my cousin, and he was the COO for Tedeschi Food Shops. And after they sold the food shops with 7-Eleven, he also worked at Clover Food Labs. He's got a legal background. He's been in cannabis for the last 3 years, helping out at Cultivate Holdings with sales and marketing effort and operations. But Greg is a wealth of knowledge, and he and I both own Old Exit 14 together. I think everyone is relatively familiar with the site at 1015 Hingham Street. So I won't go into too much detail, but it's right off the exit and just right down the street from the Home Depot. When we looked at the parking, the requirements for zoning required 15 parking spots. We have 23 spots, and we've also made arrangements for 10 additional overflow spots next door at 1001 Hingham Street. We're proposing to operate from 8 to 10 Monday through Saturday, 8 to 8 on Sunday. And again, from a zoning and permit perspective, we are looking to get approval for a marijuana establishment. And I think most of you know, and have probably been through this several times already, a special use permit was previously granted at this site. Our plans are substantially the same. The biggest difference here is we do not or are not seeking a medical marijuana license. We're not looking for a variance, and we believe that we comply with all the buffer zone requirements in the zone. We have been in front of the select board and did get a community host agreement, and that has been signed and submitted to the state. We have applied for our license at the state level, but and we have not. We are still in the process of getting a provisional license. We hope to minimize any adverse impacts in the site, and again, having been through this numerous times in the city, I mean, in the state of Massachusetts, I feel like we have a lot of experience. But just to go over a few of the things that generally come up when people think about a marijuana facility, we will have a lot of signage, both inside, outside, and in the parking area. All of our signage and all of our exterior will be compliant with state and local regulations. Won't be showing big leaves or any type of cannabis on the outside or any images of that visible from anywhere outside the premises. Clearly, there will be absolutely no on-site consumption. And I want to emphasize this by saying that we will have signage in the stores around the property. And again, we manage and monitor this as part of our core business on a monitoring system within the facility. I've had experiences in the past, and I think people tend to relate cannabis and liquor together. And you think about the person that might go into a liquor store and buy a 6-pack and go out in the car and start drinking. I can assure you that there will be no on-site consumption. We have a process and a security plan in place so that if we do see this, we have it on camera and it will be forwarded to the Rockland Police Department. And we've had this problem. We had a situation in one of our other cities before and worked with the police department there to successfully resolve that issue. And, it gets back to our thorough and tested security plan that has been in place. And we've modified it from what we've been doing for the past several years in Massachusetts. We have ample parking. We have a separate loading zone. A lot of folks, I think, worry about odor that might come from one of these locations. I can assure you that that is not going to be a problem. We do have carbon filters in the facility, and all of the product that is coming from into the store is already pre-packaged. And so therefore, we expect absolutely no odor issues, both inside or outside of the store. Opening day can sometimes be a little bit of an interesting event. And having been the first to open in Massachusetts, we saw thousands and thousands of people lining up in the streets to take a look at the first recreational store in the state. After opening up 2 additional stores since then, I can assure you that mad dash for the opening was just short-lived. There have literally been hundreds of stores that have opened since then. And the last 2 stores that I opened in the last 2 years, opening days are not quite what they were before. And there are established patterns, buying patterns by consumers right now. And so new stores don't have the fanfare that they once did. And we do not expect any problems, but we do have a plan in place. And we will make sure that there are no issues with our opening of the store at this location. We do have a very tried and true security plan. We've been approved by the Rockland Police Department. And I do believe that one of the most important things we can do is build on the relationship with the police department. And in all of the towns and cities we've worked in prior to this, we've had a very good relationship with the police department. And in fact, I remember in Framingham, for instance, the police department's like, you guys are better than anyone else we've seen, because we tend to err on the side of caution. And if we have any questions or any problems, we'd rather inform the police department first and get that working relationship going with them so that there's no surprises. And we would expect that to continue here. All of our personnel are trained. And again, we have one of the most comprehensive security systems in place with 24/7 monitoring. There's 33 cameras inside, 14 outside. We have panic buttons, hold up buttons. We have all of this information has to be stored for 90 days, or if there's even a power outage, we have to make sure that it's backed up. We can't open without those cameras being operational and recording at all times. And we've never had a problem with that in the past. I don't know if Bob Mishout is on the has made it onto the
I am here.
Okay, great. So I would like at this point to get to, I think, the meat of the presentation, which is going to be the traffic impact. And I will stop sharing and I'll ask Bob to bring up his presentation, if that's all right.
Actually, if
Bob, would you like me?
Thank you for the record. Yes, if you could run it from your side, Rob, that would be more efficient. I appreciate it. So to begin, for the record, Robert Michaud, the managing principal of MDM Transportation Consultants, and Rob and his group have hired our firm to take a look at traffic, parking, circulation aspects of the site. We've actually got a long history with this particular site for various prior proposed uses that we've presented before this board. So we've got a lot of historic information that relates to the roadways in and around the area, and over the past year have a lot of experience permitting these cannabis facilities, these dispensaries. So we've got access to a lot of very valid, relevant information to understand what kind of impact this might actually create. The study area itself, which is shown here in an aerial format, includes the signalized intersection at Commerce Road and the office park, of course, at 1001 Hingham Street, as well as the driveway for the facility. These are the same locations that were studied as part of some other prior area projects, the Wendy's, for instance, at the Home Depot, and the Prime Volvo dealership across the street. We've relied on some of that historic pre-pandemic traffic volume information to understand what the baseline traffic conditions are like at both of those locations during typical commuter hours. That would be between 7 and 9 in the morning, 4 to 6 in the evening, and again at on a Saturday in the middle of the day. And all of that is documented in our submitted traffic report. The next slide presents, if you could just flip that to the next slide, Rob.
Just let me know which slide. This slide?
No, just go to the next slide if you could. So what we've got right now is the aerial diagram.
Is this it?
Yes. No, that's okay. That's one of the last slides. So there should have been a slide right after.
There you go. This is the next slide.
Yeah. So this diagram really, if you could just stay on that diagram, Rob.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right here?
Sure.
Mr. Michon, just so you know, you're
We've
lagging out a
documented
little.
the baseline.
Mr. Michon, you're lagging out a little bit, so there might be like a time delay or something. Just so you
Okay.
know.
Okay, thank you for that. For some reason, the connectivity isn't working quite well on my side this evening. I
Understood.
apologize. So to keep this simple, this is a diagram that would present the morning and evening peak hour traffic volume conditions on Hingham Street at the signal, as well as the driveway location. And what it shows in very simple form, running from east to west here is the Hingham Street. You can see the colored S, that's the signal, and the site to the south side or east side of the road. During a weekday morning peak hour, we're documenting that traffic flow on Hingham Street can be as high as almost 1,500 cars per direction. So it's a well-traveled road, arterial road. And likewise in the evening, the volumes are very similar. They're roughly split equally between eastbound and westbound travel. You'll see in very heavy arrow format what we anticipate the traffic volume increases would be associated with the use based on the application of industry standard trip rates to the building size, right, 5,000 square feet. And what those estimates indicate is that during a typical peak hour in the morning, we would see about 30 vehicles either coming into or leaving the facility per hour, peak hour. And likewise in the evening, slightly higher level. This would be between say 4 and 6 p.m. About 50 vehicles either coming into the facility or leaving the facility over that hour. These are pretty good representations of actual traffic for these types of facilities, not only documented by industry standards and literature, but by practical experience of other facilities in the Commonwealth, some of which Rob actually has previously owned and operated. So these are not really large numbers. They're very manageable numbers, and relative to the relatively high volumes on Hingham Street represent a relatively small percentage change in the trip activity. An interesting characteristic of the site is, as the board knows, it has an interconnection, if you will, to the signal. So one of the viable ways to get into or leave the property is actually by way of that signal, which is an important asset, particularly during peak hours when traffic flow is again, between 1,000 and 1,500 cars per direction. In addition to that signalized location, the driveway itself was evaluated on the basis of it being a full access driveway, full access unsignalized driveway. So what we're anticipating is the possibility of having unrestricted access at the driveway to accommodate in the weekday morning peak hours, what we expect to be about 10 to 20 vehicles either turning left or right to get into the property, and the vast majority of exiting trips that would be destined to go to the north or east, making right turns from the site. Right. So if you look at some of the more detailed traffic volumes at the driveway in the upper part of the diagram, where it says site driveway, we would expect about 13 right turns per hour coming in, 15 left turns per hour coming in, and about a dozen vehicles making right turns. The balance of patrons who would be inclined to leave as a left turn would find it much easier to do so by using that cross-connecting driveway to the signal. So we're assuming that it would be about a dozen vehicles that would be going through the signal, making a left turn during that hour. The weekday evening equivalent to that looks very similar, slightly higher volumes. We have about 20 to 26 vehicles that would be making turns into the primary driveway, about 23 or so making right turns to leave the property at the driveway, and about just under 30 vehicles per hour headed to the signal to take advantage of that easier left turn at that location. The next slide, if you could advance just one slide, Rob, shows the Saturday equivalent. Saturday is a higher volume day for the facility. We would expect about 70 transactions or 70 vehicles to be either coming into or leaving the property over the course of an hour, but the volumes on Hingham Street are vastly lower on Saturday when compared to weekdays. The next slide, if you could advance one more, presents the outcome of an analysis of what all this means. Actually, that's, I think you skipped over one, Rob. It should be a chart that shows letters in it, letter grade, called level of service analysis.
No. Bob, I don't think we have that one here. Oh, here we go. I mean, there's the level of service on this one.
Yeah, right there. So the capacity analysis was done using industry standards to understand the relative impact of those traffic increases that you just saw as large arrows on the stick figure. And that capacity analysis shows that the signalized intersection at Commerce Road operates very efficiently with very little delay. Delays of, on average, less than 20 seconds per cycle, and that delay will really not change very much at all as a result of those small increases as a result of the project. So in the example of a weekday evening peak hour, which is the higher combined volume scenario for this project, we see a level of service B condition at the signal with average 18 seconds delay. With the project traffic, that 18 seconds becomes 19 seconds, no change in letter grade designation. And you'll see at the driveway itself, the unsignalized driveway, that it will operate very efficiently as well, with a delay of about 25 seconds on average for vehicles that would be leaving the site to turn onto Hingham Street. So from a capacity standpoint, this is not a high impact project. There's plenty of capacity, certainly at the signal and the primary driveway as well. the primary driveway is not expected to experience long delays or queuing during that high volume hour. And the next chart is a simple representation of the same information for a Saturday, which shows even better results, frankly. In addition to the capacity analysis and assessing what impact traffic would have here, we also look at site circulation to ensure that any of the responding vehicles that would need to get onto or circulate within the property, a fire truck, for instance, can do so readily and without impediment. That also includes an analysis of service vehicles, box trucks, vans, and other types of commercial vehicles that might need to have access to and circulate within the property. And finally, of course, passenger vehicles. What's shown on the screen right now is the town's ladder truck to demonstrate that in the event an emergency response was required, that the geometries at the driveway, the aisle widths, the orientation of parking, and the cross connection to the signal all provide ample width and maneuvering area for that large vehicle to be able to get into and back out of the site. All of that was computer modeled to ensure that it worked properly. Other examples are included in the slide set here that would include box trucks, for instance, or vans that might be delivering product to the facility, all of which also indicate that the site is well designed and can accommodate all of those different vehicle types. Finally, from a parking perspective, what we've documented for peak parking demand on this project is an average peak parking demand of about 16 vehicles, inclusive of the employees who will be at the site. There are expected to be roughly 10 employees on the site at any given time, plus any customer demands that would be created. We actually have real actual data from operating facilities of similar size and employment levels in the Commonwealth that indicate that the peak parking demand at those facilities is 18 vehicles. So the proposed parking supply of 23 spaces in this case is more than adequate to accommodate the peak parking demands of the use. And we'll also point out that there is overflow parking located in the 1001 Commerce Road side of the property. You can see it in the lower left-hand corner of the site plan. Those spaces could augment the on-site parking supply to the extent necessary, although it's our expectation that they will not be regularly used or needed. So in conclusion, we see this as a modest impact project, ample roadway capacity, ample parking, appropriately sized access points and circulation, and will fit in well with the context of Hingham Street and the signal next door. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any specific questions the board might have.
Traffic-wise, I don't know if we really have any questions. If you want to continue with the presentation, we should probably do that. But one of the things that we're going to have to talk about is the fact that this site is already built. And the site plans that got provided to the zoning board were all the proposed conditions. We really need to see a site as built to see that it was built in compliance. I tried to get this through in the beginning, but I guess it didn't translate. There were certain requirements that the planning board had. There were certain requirements that the zoning board had. There were also certain requirements that the Conservation Commission had. So we kind of need to see that all of that at this point was taken care of. As far as I know, the site, other than the interior of the building, is pretty much done. So when it comes to traffic and stuff like that, again, we don't have an as-built site plan. So all those traffic patterns should kind of be overlaid on the as-built site plan. It's probably the same thing, but the point is that we don't know if it's the same thing. And if there are issues with the site construction at this point, I think everybody kind of needs to know about that. So again, if you want to continue with the presentation, and there's probably other things that you want to talk about other than the site and minimum parking and stuff like that, One of the big questions that I know the zoning board's gonna have is what is gonna happen with the interior building, interior of the building, because the parking was pretty much determined by the minimum square footage of the sales floor. Is that changing? Anybody?
I would have to look at, like, Mr. Rosa, I'd have to look and make sure. I'm gonna guess that the sales floor is actually smaller than what was proposed, but again, I know that when we looked at it wouldn't be that hard to take a look at what we have.
I didn't see any architectural plans. I didn't see anything that was laying out partition walls, so.
I believe Jerry Seelan, who is the architect, might be able to address that. Jerry, are you on?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Hi, Jerry Seelan, Roth and Seelan Architects. We designed the original building, the shell building, and we are now working on the plans with Rob and his colleagues for the dispensary.
The interior is going to change from what we saw the last time?
To the best of my knowledge, no, but I would just have to see what you saw last time.
Okay. We're going to need to see floor plans.
Right.
So I don't know, I don't remember that being submitted to us at this point.
I believe a rendering was submitted as part of the application, which was similar to the.
Mr. Rubel, I see it. I see you're waving your hand. Do you have, you're on mute too. I can't hear you.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I just would like to have everybody get in touch with the building permit. I don't believe you have an occupancy on that dwelling yet. You don't have a final on electrical, plumbing, gas, or the fire department. And I did not issue an occupancy permit yet. So we need to do some catch up. Is the owner of the property with us yet?
I don't see him.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, hello, Tom Rubel, building commissioner.
Hey, Tom.
Do you have the original permit?
Yes, we do.
Okay, is there all signatures on it, finals?
Well, we got finals on the work that was done,
On what?
but the tenant was responsible. The original tenant, Cresco, was responsible for the fit up.
Okay.
So to get a final, Cresco would have to complete the interior improvements
Okay.
to get the final sign-offs.
All right, once I see all the signatures on all the inspectors and the fire department, then I'll go in there and do my final to issue the occupancy permit. Because right now you do not have an occupancy permit.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, not a problem. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on that we kind of need to back up a little bit. So the site as-built is going to be, it was required by the last special permit, by the last zoning board decision. Site as-built is required by the planning board's decision. And while I haven't seen the order of conditions from Concom, very typically a site as-built is required by Concom. So at this point, we're going to need to see a site as-built plan more so than a proposed as-built plan. We're going to need to see if things have not been put together the way that they were supposed to, meaning if the sign, if the signs that were approved the last time, meaning the do not enter, don't park here, those kind of signs, if those aren't up there, you're going to need to do a proposed conditions plan based on that, not just submit the same plans that we saw the last time and hope that we just approve the special permit and give you the same things that Cresco got. So we're going to have to back up here a little bit. Mr. Rader, I heard talk of a sprinkler system in the building. That's still the case? Is there a sprinkler system set up for the building right now?
There is.
Okay, so, and the full system exists inside the building at this point?
Again, the service is there, the backflow preventer is there, the mains are there, but the heads have not been distributed.
Okay.
As that's part of the tenant fit up work. And also, again, signage, that was to be done by Cresco. So the exterior signage has not been yet installed because that was part of their responsibility.
Okay, so these are the things that need to be figured out where we stand and whose responsibility is whose, the whole 9 yards. So that's gonna have to be figured out. Other than that, and like I said, you can continue with your presentation, because I know that, again, with Fresco, they had their security officer, the security manager. He went over the entire security protocol, although I know that you've already gone through with the RPD, and you've already got an approval with them. So I think that's a good thing. I just think we need to take the proposed plans, we need to turn it into a site as-built plan and see where we are. Because that'll also give you an idea of what you guys are responsible for when it comes to finishing off the site. That's what it sounds like, at least. That's all I got at this point. So, I don't know where you all want to go from here.
Sure. This is Rob Lally again. I mean, just from our perspective, we, and just a level set here, there's been no work on our end inside the building, right? So what you see outside is just the envelope, and sounds like we need the as-built plans.
Mr. Rader, can you mute yourself, please? I hear everything that's going on in your back in behind you. There we go. I'm sorry, Mr. Lally. I apologize.
Nope. So again, I just so there's no confusion, there is no work inside being done right now. It's basically just a box at this point, and we are working with Mr. Seelan right now to get architectural plans completed to what we're looking to do, similar to what was done before, but not exactly the same, right? So we'll make sure, we expect those to be done very soon, and I believe that they will comply with all the requirements. We don't see that as being a problem. And again, we know this is a process. I think one of the big goals today was, I think, specifically what kind of questions you might have for us, whether, we did talk to the police department and we've reached out to other folks. If there were any specific issues, concerns, more on my side as it relates to cannabis. I know you already have 2 sites in town, so you're familiar with this, which is great. But more specifically, are there things that you would like to know about us and what, who we are and what we do and what we're proposing?
No, that's absolutely understood, and I appreciate that. The initial presentation with your resume, CV, if you will, your partners. It's obvious this is not your first rodeo. So I'm not too worried about that. I don't make all the decisions. So I'm just telling you where I come from. The fact that you've already talked to the police department and you've already got a sign off from the police, that's great. I guess my question to you is, have you gone through all of the conditions from the last special permit? Have you gone through all the conditions from both planning and conservation to see that you guys are going to comply?
Yeah, I've read through all of the conditions, and obviously before we get final sign off, I guess in my mind, signage, for instance, on where the traffic signs would go, we would make sure that we comply with all of the existing and any new conditions that are placed on us.
No, and that's absolutely understood.
But from what I've read so far, there's nothing there that we can't comply with or aren't planning on complying with. So we feel very comfortable that the conditions are in order and that we'll be able to satisfy all of those.
All right, that works. Again, one of the big things that we're going to need is a site as-built, and that site as-built is going to need to be reviewed by our consulting engineer, Pat Brennan with Amory Engineering. So the big question is, how do we deal with this? Because there's issues that are coming from the special permit that it sounds like Mr. Rader is saying that your team is going to be responsible for, Mr. Lally. Does that sound correct? Other than the build out of the building.
Yeah, I think our responsibility, what I've heard tonight, obviously, if there's signage that's required and as built or any of those conditions between the landlord and ourselves, we'll make sure that we comply with all of those, obviously.
So let's figure this out then. Again, site as built, that's gonna have this, so that would be considered the site as built or an existing conditions plan as it is. That's gonna have to be done. From there, it would have to be, I would say that it should be reviewed by Pat Brennan. So he can see that most, if everything is done appropriately. Once he does his review, then basically you can take that, turn that into a design plan and show us what's missing. Basically, if there is signage, there's gonna be building signage. I've driven by several times. It looks like everything out there is pretty much done other than, I would say, just like no parking signs, handicap signs, that kind of stuff. So if that's the case, it doesn't sound like it's going to be too painful, but it's still going to need to be reviewed prior to you guys doing any kind of design on there, because unless you're going to have your engineer review it to make sure that it's in compliance and then go from there, but we'd still have to have it reviewed by our engineer.
Yeah,
So
we did, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we did provide a site engineered plan. I'll just
not
have
an
to.
as-built.
What,
It's
not
not
an
an
as-built? No, I
No,
agree.
it's all a proposed plan. Listen, I know who was out there. I know who's doing the construction. I know who did the engineering. More than likely, the site was built the way that it was supposed to. All right. I can go on record as saying that, but we've got nothing to prove it. So we need to be able to see what's going on right there. And again, it is a requirement of both the original special permit and the planning board. So I'm trying to get some of this stuff out of the way. So we can kind of not expedite things, but this will give you a good list of whatever else is whatever else is required for the site that you and your team are going to be responsible for. That'll give you a good solid list to keep going on. That's number one. Number two, it'll also give you an opportunity to put together floor plans so we can double check the parking requirements, make sure that works. We're also looking for, again, there was supposed to be an easement for the bad to get up the driveway. I believe that's in place, but again, we would need to see a copy of the recorded plan and a copy of, at a minimum, a draft easement deed, so we know that all exists. I just like to get to the point where we know where we stand at this point, only because the last time it was a raw piece of land. You know, with the last time we were dealing with this, there was nothing there. And now we're dealing with something that's 95% there. So I'd like everybody on the board to be updated as to where we stand. And that's about it. So the question is, somebody's got to pay for this. Mr. Rader, I see you're still on there. There we go. Now he's in his car.
A little quieter here.
No, it's understood. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing that. It is coming down to who's going to pay for this, because a lot of this you were responsible for. I know Pat Brennan's on the phone, is on the line right now. Pat, you got your ears on?
Yeah, I'm here.
What, you've looked at this kind of on paper and stuff like that. What do you think is a number that Mr. Rader is kind of looking at?
To review the as-built, compare it to the approved plan, the two decisions from the zoning board and the planning board, and do a final site inspection. I mean, I believe it'll be under $1,000, but I would, if there's going to be additional meetings that you're going to need me at, I'd say 1,500 would be a safe deposit, a safe number to have them put up. Obviously, they get anything back that's not spent. So,
Mr. Rader, what do you think?
Not a problem.
Okay. If you can coordinate with Deb Shuttlesworth, we'll get that taken care of. And other than that, I mean, I've talked way too much. Board members, do we want to go through discussion at this point? Mr. Baker, Senior, I see you waving your hand.
I believe the final pavement has not been done.
It's already, it's already striped. If they striped it, then why would you stripe binder?
Okay,
Final
Oh.
paving is done. Final paving is done.
okay.
Believe me, I drive by this site 2, if not 5 times a day. I've paid attention to this site from day one. Because I have my own issues with entering and exiting the site. But either way, that should answer your question. I'm sorry, Mr. Baker, I apologize.
No.
But the final paving was done.
The trench on Hingham Street, has that been finalized? Or is that still a base, a pre-patch? Because that was part of the conditions that has to meet the highway department's specifications for that trench.
Which trench are we talking about?
The one they tied the sewer line into.
All right, so the existing sewer trench out there?
There's a big patch there, but it doesn't look like it was properly cut and paved like.
All right, we're gonna add, that's something that we're gonna have to have Dave look at and Dave pay attention to.
Yeah.
Dave Taylor being the highway superintendent.
In the packet that they sent out, on their sign, it says it has cannabis on it. Is that, through you to town council, is that legal to have cannabis on the outside sign?
Attorney Galvin.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I have the former Cresco decision,
Mm-hmm.
and I can post that if you want me to, but it had the various conditions that were agreed on before.
Yeah, that one I'm really worried about. Their sign, at least the name of the business has the word cannabis in it.
It can have the word cannabis in it. It can't have any designs of the plant and things like that.
The
Okay,
word can be on the sign.
Can't,
okay.
the word can be on the sign.
All right, Mr. Baker?
You were talking about the security and if someone is caught smoking on the property, that you would turn it over to the police department. But would you ban that person from coming back to your establishment?
I would hope so.
Absolutely. So in a situation like that, our manager would go out and if possible, confront the person or persons. We have and ban them. Not only would we ban them, but obviously kick them off the property and let them know that we were notifying the police department. And in that situation, we would write up a very quick report and send it with the actual footage and the make and model of the car to the police department immediately. So, like right away. And then that becomes the police department, and then we would report it within our own, SOPs.
So you'd actually issue them a no trespass order to come back.
Yeah, if we could. Yes.
Or whatever they call it.
Well, we would not allow them re-entry ever again. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
What else you got, sir? Anything else?
One other thing, no opening day flags or any of that sort gonna be hanging out there. How
So,
like some places have a grand open, they put, those temporary flags flapping around in the breeze. out
Sure.
there.
As we've talked to the team about this, as part of the permitting procedure, we're going to put an entire sign package together and go in for the correct permits and obviously make sure that we comply with all of the local state and local regulations. So again, that would be something that we would handle as a separate permit, make sure that we're not making any errors in local permitting.
Mr. Rubel, that's all going to be on you. You know that. So what else you got, Mr. Baker?
The letter from the police department, Lieutenant Zioli, in the last paragraph, the last sentence. I'm also of the opinion that consideration be given to design the main driveway in front of the building as a right turn only for vehicles exiting due to the cautious left turn that would be necessary there. Are they gonna have, it's in the plans here that it shows that the driveway is wide open for a left turn. But I think for a few months anyway, we should have some kind of temporary barrier there to make it a right turn only, to see how it works, and make them all go down to the traffic light.
Not to interrupt, I know that planning had specific conditions on this as well. We had some, planning had some. I think what we need to do is we need to, again, we're gonna have Pat review all this. Pat's gonna have to combine basically the two and see where we land. I think we talked about this. I honestly, I'll be 100% honest with you. I didn't want anybody entering or exiting from that. There was a point in time, prior to any of the real construction going on, I had to pull over into there and I was going to exit at that point. I waited, started to make my move. I almost got T-boned in a giant white van. All right. So it's not like people didn't see me. And I was taking a right to go to the Home Depot parking lot. So I know that it's got issues. Personally, I know that it's got issues. I really don't want to talk about it until we see what's going on with the as-built plan. Like I said, there's two different sets of conditions that we have to look at and take it all in consideration. I don't remember where the planning board left off with it. I really don't remember where we left off with it. So I'd like to, once we get the as-built plan, I'd like to be able to put that all together and then kind of make some assumptions, determinations, requests, whatever it is. Because again, I think once that review gets done between Mr. Lally and Mr. Michon, they may look at it differently. I don't know. I just want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're looking at design plans only. They're not looking at what's actually there. They're not looking at the actual site distances that are there. So that's something that I want to at least give them the benefit of the doubt. Mr. Galley, I see you raising your hands.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on the question about that entrance, and I don't want to make you go on that too long. But when it was the former applicant, that entrance was approved for a left turn entry against the two lanes of traffic.
Yep.
And I mean, I wasn't a voting member, but I expressed a disagreement with that. I'm wondering, would we be able to, if it was decided, could we remove that left turn entry this time? Would that be something that we could possibly do legally? Even
in
if
the end, we can condition this as such as long as we don't stop them from using it to some degree. We can't just say, no, you can't use it because Mr. Attorney Galvin came up with that would be an illegal town taking. And I agree with that. So I need to see I think we all need to see where it is actually on the ground. We need to see what the actual site distances are. Now that it's not a flat entry or exit, there's actually a pitch to it. So that's something that I think we all need to see to get a real handle on what's going on. Does that satisfy you, Mr. Galley, at this point?
Yeah, I know we'll talk about it later, so I won't continue this right now.
I appreciate it, sir, and thank you for stopping me from talking. I appreciate that. Mr. Baker, I heard you say you're all set. Is that correct?
All set. Thank you, sir.
I'm going to keep going on down the line. Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a number of questions based on the applicants and his team's presentation tonight and also on their documentary submissions. But I think I would rather wait until the additional information that you've requested and Mr. Rubel's requested and Mr. Brennan's requested comes in, so I can do comprehensive questions rather than hitting it piecemeal. So I have nothing to ask.
I appreciate that, sir. That's a good way to go. Mr. Haynes, talk to me, sir.
Good. Well, I think we kind of touched on some of these things, but I just had four things to direct to the applicants who asked, what's our reaction or what kind of things we'd be looking at coming up. So I think the hours being proposed are a little different than the previous applicant. So I think I'd want to discuss that as a board, and I'd want to think about those hours relative to the other dispensaries in town. And I don't think we have any real agenda there, except that it is something that's different. So I imagine it will be a point of conversation. And so hours, obviously we need plans. Some of our zoning, our parking are based on what the plans are. Safety, mitigation, things like that. So plans and signage. Our original decision, we went over this entrance exit thing ad nauseum. And we landed on a condition that there's just no restrictions, but that we would review it 6 months down the line. And there was an agreement about the imposition of further conditions. So I think we'd want to, it's obviously going to be a big point of a big conversation, but we did come to an agreement with the last applicant. So maybe you could just share with us your feelings about that particular condition, because I think it was the agreed upon way we would handle it between different board members and our different feelings and the applicant's feelings and the owner's feelings about that traffic and the turns and what we'd experienced there. And then I think my only last thing I noted, there's one change in the neighborhood. There's a preschool. I don't believe it's within the 300 feet, but I don't know. It was
1,500. 1,500.
1,500.
Boundary to boundary.
It's far away. So I think it's just something, I'm noting it because it wasn't there. It is now. And it's that official, I always trust Rob's distances, but I think that an official distance as part of a thorough plan submission to document that distance and compliance.
Yeah, I think the last applicant provided something like that, Tim. I think they did actually give us a dimension to the nearest school and stuff like that. So yeah, it would be nice if on the as-built plan there was some sort of notation that the nearest school is X amount of feet, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think this is actually something new. So
I thought they provided that. I mean, but it wasn't
the school is new.
Yeah, the school is new, but I don't think they didn't have a dimension to that because the school wasn't in the permitting stages at that point. But I think they did during their presentation, they did come out with a number to the nearest.
It's been on all of our those distances have been on all of our applicants for cannabis facilities. It's just as opposed to the last applicant at this site, there is a change in the neighborhood. But so just
very true.
I think it's important to note. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. I appreciate it. We're going Mr. Galley. I see you raising your hand again, sir.
Well, before I just wanted to piggyback on the comment. Now I just want to throw out two questions to expose my ignorance.
Bring it on, sir.
One is, and I just don't know this because I'm just, I don't get to visit these places often or ever, but no on-site consumption. Is that a state, town, or law or a company rule? I'm just curious.
Be a little of everything, I think.
Yep, state, town, company. Yeah, all of the above.
Cool. Okay, I'm just curious. I mean, because where you said you got the police involved, I figured had to be a law. Other than trespassing, you can say you don't want someone there. I figured that would still qualify to call the police. But I was just curious. I just didn't know. But I do have a question, and I'm just curious about the difference between your application and the previous applicant. Is that there's no medical marijuana license? And I'm just curious, and I'm sorry to bother you with too much of a question, but why is that? Is it just a bureaucratic obstacle, or is it just no money to be made? I was just curious.
They don't have a grow facility on site.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the short answer is in order to sell medical, you need to be vertically integrated where you have to grow, produce and sell. And there's a limited number of those licenses.
Okay.
So that's why we do not have that license.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, sir?
No, thank you.
No, you're good?
My other questions were already asked, and so I'm good. Thank you.
Mr.
I will not
Galley.
duplicate.
Mr. Tanzi, coming to you last. Talk to me, sir.
I don't have a whole lot to add. I would like to see, if an order of conditions can be obtained during this process, that would be good. I'm curious as to where it stands, whether or not the detention basins have been constructed, that the vegetation has been either established, planted, whatever. I just don't want to have the horse before the cart on a situation like that. Do you know where it stands with the order of conditions, Mr. Lally?
Mr. Tanzi, I'm going to stop you right there. I've talked to Pat Brennan about this, and what we're gonna do is I've asked Pat to review this from the perspective of zoning, planning, and refer to the Conservation Commission, because typically, as you know, with an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, a site as-built is usually required.
Right.
I'm not saying it always is, but it usually is required. And because they have their own review engineer, I guarantee that they're gonna want their review engineer to look at this. So what I've asked Pat to do is look at it from a zoning, look at it from a planning, and refer to the order of conditions from conservation. I don't want him to go in there and start talking about if it complies with conservation and stuff like that. That's out of his purview as far as I'm concerned. He does not do review for the Conservation Commission. That's a separate issue 100%. But he's gonna bring it up and say, this is what they were responsible for doing. If they're smart, meaning the applicants or Mr. Rader's engineer, if they're smart, they're going to start locating all of that stuff. They're going to show it on the plan because it's going to be necessary to do that. So if it's not on the plan, we'll see it. And I believe the board is pretty versed at this point and looking at a plan. And if something is supposed to be there and it's not there, then we can say, oh, well, it's not done yet. But again, I don't want to overstep bounds between the zoning and the Conservation Commission. So we can get a copy of it, we can look at it, but we really can't make any determinations based on.
Oh, I wouldn't alter the order of conditions. If they've got an order of conditions, I'm satisfied that they've cleared out that permit.
Oh yeah, no, they've got the order of conditions, but they definitely have not submitted their final site as built and got their and.
Yeah, I mean the COC. I'm sorry, I didn't mean the order of conditions. I mean the COC.
Yeah, they definitely don't have the COC yet.
All right. The other thing is, I just want to make sure that, just as a note, when you submit your revised floor plans, just make sure that you've got the square footage of your of the
sales floor.
Yeah, the retail area, because that's what we base our parking on, and just make sure that you locate the parking stripes on the parking lot to ensure that we've got adequate parking. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that takes care of all the board members.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Baker Jr., I see you.
Just a procedural question based on Mr. Haynes' comments. I'm assuming, and this is either to you or Mr. Galvin or both, I'm assuming because this is a new application, we are not bound by any conditions imposed or not imposed on the prior application. That's correct?
Technically that's correct. But to come back on that, I am only assuming, but I think this is a good assumption, that the current applicant, again, Mr. Lally, you said that you did look at it. You said that you liked you were agreeable and amenable to most of the conditions that were on there. You could live with what was there. Okay.
Generally, yes.
Okay. So again, I kind of see, and I knew where this was going from the beginning. They just wanted the applicant is agreeable to all the conditions that came forward the last time. It's a procedural thing. We can't just say, yep, done. So at this point, I think that all the conditions, as we stated before with the last applicant, they're probably going to work. All right, they're probably going to work. I think we're going to look at it and we're going to be okay with them. We have the opportunity to impose more. All right. So does that kind of answer your question at this point?
It does, absolutely. Thank you.
That's it. That I think is where that's where you were going. Yes, we can add on whatever we want at this point, but we have a good starting point with the last one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. The last decision.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Baker. All right. Board members are good. Mr. Rubel, do you have anything else that you want to add into this?
No, I'm all set right now. I'm looking at the paperwork here that came from my office. I don't even know if any of this has ever been recorded on the last special permit.
Okay. When it comes to the last special permit, if it hasn't been recorded, at this point, does it matter? Because it's almost out the door at this point.
Yeah, well, whatever you would decide to do on this applicant here, we've got to make sure that gets recorded.
Yep, absolutely. And all of that information needs to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And the best thing is the satellite office is right down the street. So that makes it a little bit easier. Any other concerns, Mr. Rubel?
Nope, I just need those inspections, that's all.
Okay. Mr. Rader, you're kicking around. I still see you.
Here.
Can you just do me a favor over the next couple of days or something like that? Can you coordinate with Mr. Rubel to just see where, inspections, what need to be done, what's missing, just to continue with the as-built, just to see where the whole site is? Can I ask you to have a coordination with them? Some sort of meeting?
I'll do so.
All right. Mr. Rubel, you okay with that?
Very good.
All right. We've gone through the board. We've gone through the applicant. I'm going to open this up to general public. Does anybody have anything to say in favor of this application? Does anybody want to say anything in opposition to this application?
Michael West.
Yeah, I see Michael Westford is raising his hand. Mike, where are you?
Hold on, let me figure this out. Here we go. Hey, how are you?
What's going on, Mr. Competition?
I know. So obviously, you guys know Mike Westford from Health Circle. I'm down the street on Commerce Road. I saw the new application. I was encouraged when Cresco bailed, so the board could re-review the application. I think last time we all had some issues with the parking numbers, and based on my numbers and Canavana numbers, I don't think the site meets parking bylaw, but that's for the engineer to figure out. My concern is really the left-hand turn. So people making a left-hand turn across 2 double lanes into the location, basically right off exit 35 or old exit 14. We're going to create another, I hate to say it, but Canavana on Hingham Street. And Hingham Street's probably, I don't know factually, the busiest street that we have. And if you look at what the petitioner said in their own numbers, there'd be 44 cars at peak hours making a left across a double yellow line through 2 lanes of traffic. So I just think we got to look at that. If we could take a minute to look at it, we all know how busy the street is and how it sucks now. I just think 44 cars, if each car takes, as you said, it takes a while to get out there, a minute, you're basically making the left-hand lane inoperable. Because if they have 44 cars taking a left and it takes them, let's just say a minute, that's 44 minutes. There'll be somebody turning left. Where are all the other cars from the highway going? I'm not against the use, not against the people. I just think we got to talk about that left-hand lane. Maybe they got to turn at the light or something like that. The police chief mentioned it in his letters that he was concerned about it. And we don't want another backup like Canavana. That would hurt my business personally.
I agree. I agree with you, sir. And again, I know you weren't a part of the original discussion that we were having with Cresco, but again, I personally was in major opposition to using that for anything. But again, you got to look at things, as time goes on. We had specific recommendations. I think in the end, it would behoove all of us to go with what the RPD says when it comes to how to make that work. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it right now because I just know that myself, as well as the board members, are all aware of the situation, and that's something that we are going to have to review. In the end, like I said, once we get the site as built, we'll see if that entrance is actually where it was proposed to be. It may be shifted a little bit. So in the end, that could affect things. Will it affect things a ton? Probably not. But the sheer fact is that we don't necessarily exactly know where that entrance is in relation to where they proposed it to be. Like I said, probably exactly where it's supposed to be, but until we get the site as built, we have no idea. So
that's my issue. As long as we can discuss that and people understand like what the implications are for people coming off the exit, the highway, everything else, that's all I care about.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. That issue will be addressed once we get all the appropriate plans.
Cool.
Thank you, Mr. Westward. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to speak in favor or opposition at this point? And hearing none, I would entertain a motion for continuance.
Motion to continue the public hearing for.
Hold on, Deb. What do you got for available dates?
How far out are we talking?
I know what it's going to be like to get Don Bracken's office up here from the Cape to do the site as built. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. The drafting time that it's going to need, the time that Pat's going to need to review it.
August 2nd.
August
work,
2nd?
Deb?
No, that should be enough. We could do August 16th.
Mr. Lally, what I'm getting at is I think that 30 days it's not going to be enough.
Can we look at trying to do it in 30 days if we can get the civil back to you real quick?
If you would, Deb, what do you got for 30 days from today?
July 5th.
July 5th.
Do we have something on?
Not yet.
Not yet. July 5th? Is that, board members, does that work? Does that work for everybody?
Does.
Yep.
All right, it's the day after. It's the day after the Independence Day. Is everybody going to be hungover, or? I mean, I'm just making sure here.
I can assure you that I am not.
Okay.
He'll be hungover on the 4th.
I would entertain him. Deb, did you have anything to say? I'm sorry, I cut you off. No, you're good? All right. Mr. Baker, you want to amend
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing till July 5th at 7:30.
Second.
I got a motion and I got a second from Mr. Haynes. And just so we're clear, we have a full board tonight, so the full board is voting. That's Mr. Baker Senior, that's myself, that's Mr. Haynes, that's Mr. Baker Junior, and that's Mr. Tansey, just for a clerical sense. So I got a motion, I get a second, roll call, Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
Mr. Baker Junior.
Yes.
Mr. Tansey.
Yes.
Okay, so we got a motion, second, all in favor, everybody's good. All right, so July 5th, contact, and again, I don't know who has to make all these contacts, or communications. So someone has to contact Bracken's office, get that coordinated. Mr. Rader has to coordinate with Mr. Rubel. Pat's gonna have to get a copy of all the appropriate decisions.
It's good price.
we're not.
And that's how it's all gonna work. So does anybody have any questions at this point? Everybody has their marching orders. Everybody knows what they need to do.
Yep.
And we're good. And we're
Thank
good.
you, everyone, for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. So far, so good, sir. Once we get everything, I think this will go a little bit smoother the next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, where are we at this point? Let's see. Okay, we did that. All right. We've got-
Maplewood.
Yeah, man, we've got discussion on Maplewood Estates, 40B discussion, deliberation, and potential vote to approve the release of the performance bond funds being held in escrow, which were to be released upon the acceptance of the roadways by the town of Rockland. Attorney Galvin, do you want to say anything about this?
Yes. So this was the 40B subdivision that was actually, I think, permitted even before I started as council. Probably before any of you, maybe with the exception of Greg, were on the board. This was a single family dwelling development, and the roadway and infrastructure went in, and the houses were all sold off, including the affordable housing. And the applicant is representing that they've completed all of their infrastructure and are looking for their bond back, because this was a subdivision roadway. And I agree, from a legal perspective, that the roadway is completed and the bond money should be released. I think that the town is prepared to release that money, but wanted the board to confirm that.
I've looked at, this series of documents that we put up on the website. Pat Brennan's review of the roadway, the as-built plans that were accepted by the town at town meeting. I've got a letter from Dave Taylor, and we've got the 2017 road acceptance. So it looks like everybody is signed off on this, from what I can tell. Mr. Rubel, are you still here? Nope, he's not still here. We've talked to, let's see, here's the memo. That's Dave, from Dave Taylor. Nothing as of yet for problems, drainage issues that were minor. That was about it. What is the documentation email chain? Do we have, I don't think there's anything else that we really need. Again, the town accepted it. The town accepted the road, they accepted the roadways. They're now public roadways at this point. This is just red tape as far as I can see. And again, please, if anybody's got any questions whatsoever, let's talk about it now.
No, I agree. If the road is accepted, there's no reason to not give them back the bond, unless it's falling apart.
Which, again, Mr. Taylor, I don't think he was highway superintendent at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Not at the initial.
What, for the road acceptance?
Yeah, no, prior to the road acceptance, prior to the subdivision getting built,
Right.
and I don't think he was, I don't think he was at the time of acceptance. I think he would,
Yes, he was.
you would know better than anybody.
Right.
But in the end, everybody is pretty much signed off on this thing. So, if anybody needs to talk about it, if anybody's got any issues with it, let's hear them now.
So my only issue is that I haven't had time to review any of the documentation that came in. So
Okay.
we got it so late. On the plus side, we used this particular findings and decision for one of our other projects. So I'm at least familiar with the findings and conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But the information, even the scheduling of this is so late that I haven't had a chance to review any of this.
I dig it, but in the end, not to be a jerk here, it was supposed to be released upon acceptance of the roadways. The roadways were accepted a while ago. So
I
that.
haven't, but that may be true, but if we're being asked, if we're being asked to look at it, I haven't looked at it. So we may have needed to do something, but I don't know what I can vote on without even reading the information that's being sent over.
You want me to email it to you?
No, I have it, but
Oh, okay.
it just came in too late to read.
Oh.
The town would not accept the road if it didn't have an as-built plan and signed off by the town engineer. And all of that was done. And
So
most
then-
of their bond money was released.
But what are we being asked to do?
Give them back the rest of the money.
I know they want their money. What is the zoning board's responsibility, Attorney Galvin?
It's actually pretty simple. Now that the roadway's been accepted by the town, it's our job to give them their money back.
Again, I know what they want us to do. I know.
Look at the select board.
Is there a vote, a finding? Are we supposed to review something?
No, as long as Pat's satisfied that the roadway infrastructure or the drainage infrastructure completed. Look at the roadway was accepted. That meant that we thought it was acceptable for it to become a public way. You're only being asked to confirm that they can give the money back.
We need to vote. Do we need a decision? Do we need anything like that?
Just affirmative vote of the board to authorize the selectmen to give the money back.
And Mr. Chairman, my recollection from looking at the material is that the road was accepted about 1.5 years ago.
2017.
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, even more. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, this was a while ago.
My error.
Dang.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been holding on to this money for a while.
Give me my money, Brian.
I make a motion to refund the bond.
I got a motion. I got many seconds. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Yourself is a yes. Mr. Haynes.
I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Okay, Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
And Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Does 4 cover it, Mr. Attorney Galvin?
Yes.
Here we go. All right. Give him the money. All right, so that takes care of that. Okay, now we're going into 320 Concord Street for a little bit of discussion. Anybody in the bathroom? I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there right now. I do. So
I would have no objection, Mr. Chairman.
I would absolutely. Then rock and roll. 5 minute. We'll talk to you all in a second.
Yep.
Very good.
You yourselves.
better. This is what I get for getting 2 large iced teas. Wow. Where was he?
Dave, I appreciate your Family Guy reference on the last matter.
Thank you. I got to contribute something to the meeting.
Damn straight. All right. Deb, we all got an email from you, blah, 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 blah. This is the rough draft. You want us to kind of review this and go over this at this point?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna take them and put them into, like, use the template for schoolhouse.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
sent kind of like a cheat sheet of just like the formatting of how the conditions, like the way we listed them out.
Yep. Got them right here. Oh. Okay. I think we're just waiting for Mr. Tansey. Which one do you want us to start on? You want us to start on the cheat sheet or?
No, because that's really just like the list of like the headings.
Okay. All right, so this is
I guess on
that.
some of them I may need to know like what particular section they go in, but I'm pretty much gonna base it on schoolhouse.
Okay. And again, I kind of feel like that's a very comprehensive setup at this point.
Right.
And other than the site-specific stuff, I still think that's a pretty good template to work with going forward.
I agree.
Yeah, does everybody have the first document that that Debbie had emailed? If not, I can share it. I have it here.
Yeah, can you share it?
Share screen right there. All right, everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Open this up so I can get everybody on screen here. Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I was trying to experiment with changing my laptop.
Oh, I thought we were blasting off for outer space there for a second.
I'm gonna mute myself. Try that again.
All right. I've got the share screen going on. Can everybody read that? Is that big enough?
Yeah, I can read it. Yeah.
All right. So that seems to work. Again, Deb, anything highlighted that's going to be specifically sites, that's site.
Yeah, and that kind of pertains more to me too than you.
Okay. So it seems that 1, again, that's going to be site specific. 2, I remember this paragraph from the last one.
That's standard.
3, again, the property is known as blah, 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 blah. That just if worst case scenario, that needs to be updated. It's not highlighted, so I'm assuming you got the right stuff.
Yep. Now, number 4, the golf course is, I don't know what direction the golf course is.
Directly behind it. So without looking at the Concord Street to the north, to the northeast. So that question's answered.
Oh, well, wait a minute. It's not entirely within a single family neighborhood.
Property is located entirely within a single family neighborhood. So what is the zoo? Where are you? Here. here, here, here. 18, I think is the last one. Almost. There we go. There we go. Concord Street. They're right there. Yeah, it is. That's us. That's 320 right there. All yellow is the R1.
So no reference to the golf course?
Golf course is directly behind them. So it's like to the northeast and to the northwest. This is all the golf course in here.
Right, okay.
Everything yellow, all in R1.
Okay.
Okay, so that. The proposal by the applicant was for the demolition and disposal of the remnants of the existing single-family house and all other site improvements and construction of. Proposal by the applicant was for the demolition and disposal of the remnants of the pre-existing houses. It's gone at this point. That would be number one. Oh, okay, I see where you're going. And all other site improvements, pre-existing site improvements. So I guess that could be number one.
The slab is still there, Rob. So we should
Yeah,
leave that.
he's gonna have to get rid of it. Didn't we talked about this, didn't he? Because he did have a date that he was supposed to remove it by, but he got an extension on that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's at this point, the proposal by the applicant was for the demo. The proposal by the applicant was number one, for the demolition and disposal of the remnants of the pre-existing single-family house and all other pre-existing site improvements that do not pertain to, what's the neighbor on the other side? Is it 330?
Yes.
I think it's 330, and all other site improvements that do not relate to 330 Concord Street. That would be number one. That was the first thing that he was supposed to do. Then from there, the construction of number two would be the construction of 4 new residential single-family rental.
Mhm.
No.
Could you have just said do not relate to abutters?
Say again?
When you said do not relate to 330 Concord Street, could you have just said do not relate to abutters?
Well, there's only one abutter.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's only one abutter that shares a something with this.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I put that in there.
Okay, I was just looking for like something you can use as a template and copy and paste for the future.
You got a point. You got a point. But then again, very rarely are we going to have to deal with a single family home that had to get torn down.
Yeah, true.
It's again, this is kind of a site. This is kind of a site specific thing. So number two, the construction of 4 new residential single family. These aren't rentals. These are
I'll strike that. Condominium.
Yeah, I guess
Well,
I don't know.
I'll strike rental.
You may call them detached condominium units.
Yeah, I see. I don't even remember where we stand on that. Are they condos? So there's going to be a condo association.
Yes, there is.
Or is it a homeowners association?
It's
The land is owned in common.
The land is owned in common. So it's going to have. It would have to be a condo, right, Tim?
Would have to be a combo. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So all other site improvements. Number 2, the construction of 4 new residential single-family condominium units on a single lot in common ownership. I like that.
Condominium ownership.
Yep, in
That's where
condominium
the
ownership.
condos come in. Yep.
And the next thing, in a 4-story building, that's gotta go.
I'll take care of that.
First floor parking and 3 resident, that's gotta go. Is this where we want to put in the maximum height? Is that, it has it right there.
40 feet, but
But that's different. That's coming from the other one. I need to pull out the number that we looked at. I want to say it was like 27 and a half, but I definitely want to double check that. But it's in here. I figure if we put the maximum building height in here, does that make sense? Only because it's already here. Let me just pull this up here. How do I current? This is unfortunately when my computer starts to lag out.
you went by it already, Rob.
Already go by it?
Yeah.
Where am I looking here?
Up.
Yeah, at the top. There you go. No.
All right, what I wanted to see was the last, this one. Okay. So what we're looking at is we're starting with this base elevation. I can't highlight it. We're starting with this base elevation of 93. So base elevation is 93. He had a number of 121.4, 121.4, 121.4 minus 93 equals minus 3 equals 25.4. That's the building height.
So I have that in notes, and then I also have 23 feet 1 inch from the garage, I believe the garage floor.
The garage, this is the 25.4 is from the garage floor, and then you have to add 3 feet or subtract rather 3 feet from the top of foundation. So if you subtracted another 3 feet from that number, you'd be at 22.4. And that's from the top of foundation. But again, not knowing actually how high he's going to end up, pouring this foundation, he might end up looking at it and making it lower. Because that's, from a construction standpoint, that's a lot of exposed concrete. Now that we and he knows what he's actually building, that's an extreme amount of concrete, especially along the back.
Right.
He may end up stepping this down, like that. I don't know. So I don't know if I want to put in a number from the top of foundation.
I don't think he was very happy with the design of these buildings.
No. And this is what Tim, as far as I can tell, this is what Tim was aggravated about the whole time. And I agree with him. I agree with him 100%. Now that we know, that's why I don't know if I want to put a number from the top of foundation, because from a construction standpoint, I'm thinking that, okay, maybe he'll step it up here, maybe he'll start to come down here. Because even he was saying that some of this he could take up with wood framing. So if we limit it to, and again, I'm going to do the numbers one more time. The overall height that he's got here of 121.4 minus the elevation of the garage floor, which was 93, that's 28.4, minus the 3 feet that he said he was willing to drop it, that's 25.4 feet. Everybody good?
From what?
From the garage floor elevation. Because that's not going to change. And even if it does, even if he sinks the garage, so you're driving into the garage, good. It'll make it even lower.
And that's ridge height, correct?
Yeah, you can say ridge height. It's the same thing.
Rob, do we know what the pitch of this roof is? Is it going to be a 12-to-1 pitch?
Not necessarily, because he said he was going to lower. He said he was lower. He was willing to lower everything because he could get away with not having 9-foot ceilings.
Right. He was talking about that. He was going to go with 8.
Yeah, right. He was going to lower. He was going to lower that. He was going to lower that, and then he was also going to change the roof. He was going to change the pitch.
I wouldn't want a roof that's less than a 12 pitch, because it won't look good. And if he drops,
I don't know if we can condition it that way. That's a building code situation. And if he wants to do a lower pitch and he can get away with that from a building code standpoint.
yeah, it'll look ugly, I think, don't you?
The
Not really.
proposed architectural pitch is, I forget, it was like 7 and 12. You'd have to zoom in on it. It's on that sheet. But it's not 12 over 12.
And he was going to lower that anyway. I think he was going to end up lowering, because I think in the end he was going to lower both floor heights. So you're losing a foot there. And I think he would have to lose a foot in the pitch of the roof to make it all work.
I think he said a 9.
So then he said a 9.
7 to 9 pitch.
If it works architecturally, again, there's no living space up there. As far as he presented, there was no living space presented to be in the attic. So it's literally, if anything, it could be storage. It could be completely uninhabitable. So again, I hear what you're saying, Greg, but I don't know if we can condition that. Just like we can't condition, no decks above elevation, blah, 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 because we can't put any how do you say it? Attorney Galvin said it. You can't put any undue something on the applicant that you wouldn't force anybody else to do normally.
Rob, if you look at the stuff in the red over here, to the right, average grade and elevation 90.3, and no, don't move. And the building ridge elevation 111.4.
Yeah, that's for the abutting buildings.
Oh, that's for the next building?
Yeah, that's it, because we wanted to see a comparison, because he kept saying from the beginning that he didn't want to be any higher than the neighboring buildings. Well, that went out the door.
Because I think building 2 is the highest one on the lot, would be the highest lot.
That's why he modeled it after building 2. And again, that's why I think the engineer did the right thing. And again, we have the number. So if everybody's comfortable with that number, we're gonna, which he agreed to. He said right off the bat that he would be willing to do that. So it's 3 feet off of whatever was calculated. 3 feet brings us down to the 25.
So are we putting anything in for the roof pitch?
I don't think we can on the roof pitch, because that's going to be determined by the redesign of the entire house.
Okay.
Well, I would say that when we say that the plans, we have other conditions that are coming in that say he's got to build it substantially, like what he's proposed.
Yeah.
And so I would say that if we saw a set of plans, or I should say, if the building department saw a set of plans that had a 5 and 12 pitch, that would not be substantially close to what we have here. And, and he's already, to me, a 7 and 12 pitch, 8 and 12 pitch is perfectly.
And then Tom would send them back to us.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So,
Rob,
yeah.
do we have anything in here that says that the ceiling height cannot exceed 8 feet? Is there any verbiage in this condition? I mean, that's what he agreed to.
Yeah, I guess we could. Yeah, we probably should say that. And all the number 2. All right, so let's just get back to the 5-B. I guess it would be all of the site improvement. Okay, 5-B. The B would be the construction of 4 new residential single-family condominium housing units on a single lot in condominium ownership. Get rid of that. The 4, so
That's gonna be out.
yeah, that's gone. And with a maximum height of the 25.4 feet measured from garage floor. So that's B.
And a maximum ceiling height of 8 feet.
Ceiling height.
With a maximum, very good, nice. The maximum number of units proposed by the applicant is 4. You can get rid of that. We already said that. As proposed, 1 dwelling unit is, which is at least 25% of the proposed 4 units are proposed to be reserved for sale to families earning no more than that. All right, so that works. There will be 1 main entrance and 1 main exit into the development from Concord Street, 1 way in and 1 way out. Should we go into more definition or more? Should we go into more of what the actual thing is? You know, it's a driveway that's X amount of feet wide.
I think that sentence makes it sound like there's 2.
The common
that's what I'm saying.
The common drive is shared with.
One driveway, one shared entrance into the development from Concord Street. Shared driveway in parentheses. Does that work?
What did we call it?
Yeah.
One access. We had a name for it. We kept calling. We finally agreed upon a name for it.
I can't even remember. I know where you're going, and I can't remember what it was.
Access drive.
That sounds right to me.
Access drive.
Yeah.
We'll call it an access drive. There will be 1 main access drive into the development off of Concord Street. And that's
We need 1 and 1 way out. If there's only 1 main entrance, you can only go in and out.
yeah, exactly. One main access drive.
And there shall be no parking on the access drive.
Hold on, we're not there yet. See, because number 7,
Yeah, shouldn't we?
but you got number 7 right here. We're already starting to talk about parking on a whole nother one.
But I didn't, the parking, that's from another one, so I need to know about the parking.
Okay, so number 7, we're gonna talk about parking on the, parking on the driveway and basically parking on the site parking. 7A, there will be each residential unit will contain 4 parking spaces, 2 in the garage, 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway.
Yes.
So that takes care of that. That's 7A. 7B, there shall be no parking on the main access drive or within the specified turning area for the Rockland Fire Department.
Yes.
That basically takes care of parking. As proposed by the applicant requiring this.
Didn't they have an overflow parking area for guests?
Nope. All they have is 4 parking spaces per unit, 2 inside, 2 outside. That's it.
But there's the turnaround fire lane, but there's that little bit of the extension that goes past
beyond the
driveway.
driveway.
Yeah. So if we need that for the fire department, for the equipment to turn around, then it should be marked as well. It should be a fire lane as well. If it's not needed.
I kind of think it is needed. Let me get to the site plans again.
I don't remember it being painted off.
I don't remember it. I don't remember that either, but let me see. This is the old one. This is the most updated one, but that definitely was not painted up in here. It's going to take a second. This is the full set, I think.
T1.
What'd you say, C1?
T1. Looks like second to last.
Checking out figures. I want to update. T1, there we go. Look at you, Mr. Haynes, on top of it, on point, sir. Yeah. So we're gonna have to modify that, and we're gonna have to require striping in there.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to require something. It's either striping, it's either some sort of crosshatch striping or no parking signs.
No parking, fire lane, and paint it out.
Wow, you really want to
Mr.
strike this
Baker
guy
wants it all.
Whatever the flavor of the board is at this point.
Stripe it out, no parking anytime, violators will be towed at owner's expense.
Wow. Wow, you're decimating this guy. Again, I have no argument on any of it, and I agree, it has to be somehow. If that's what everybody feels, then I'm fine with that.
Gotta stripe the stop line out front, so the striping guy's gonna be there.
True.
Why don't we stripe the whole street? No parking.
Double yellow line. With fog lines.
Whole thing.
You wouldn't have any street left. Be yellow and white.
Require 6-inch wide stripes too. None of this little foot, none of this little like 3-inch, DOT required. No, we're going 6-inch wide.
I mean, really what it is too, it's a backup turning turnout for that last house too. They need that space
Actually,
just to
show
get out of the
striping
driveway.
where the backup is.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah, they've always
It
shown.
can't be used for parking. That was the point.
Yeah, again, that's Deb, what do we have for, where are we on that one at this point?
7.
Yeah, when it comes to
Oh, I'm
parking.
sorry. No parking on main access drive or turning area for fire lane.
As shown on site development plans.
And will be shown on the as-built plan.
Well, yeah, we're not there yet.
Okay, so are we gonna call, what are we gonna call? Are we calling that the fire lane? That like bump out in front of the house where they back up the truck? Or
Yeah.
forward the truck, whatever it is that they do, they gotta pull it forward to back it up, right?
Fire truck turnaround.
No, it's not fire truck. It's
Emergency vehicle?
Emergency vehicle turnout.
Yeah, emergency vehicle turnout.
So what about that house? Is it gonna be all striped in front of that house?
That's what Mr. Baker's suggesting.
Just up to his driveway.
Yeah, just beyond the driveway.
Right.
Okay.
The side's gonna be all striped.
So 7, you're gonna separate it into like an A, B, and C. A is the required parking for each unit.
Yep.
B would be no
Main
parking on
access drive.
the access drive.
Yep.
C would be no parking within the emergency vehicle turnaround area as designated on the plans. That's C, and then D, all emergency parking. Not emergency parking, all emergency vehicle turning areas. All emergency vehicle turning access areas to be crosshatch striped, but I don't know how to say that. Like DOT specs, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to say that.
Do you want the wording, do you want signs up there too?
Oh, yeah.
Because we can do it similar to how we did the verbiage in the schoolhouse.
Okay.
Like the striping and stuff
Yep.
and the signage.
Or we could say with the approval of the fire department.
Want me to get something from the deputy fire chief?
Yeah. Yeah, we get that.
Ask him what he thinks he would want there.
Yep.
Okay.
Other than sign.
And again,
All right.
7 will just take care of all the, all the different parking requirements, and the no turn and the no parking requirements.
Yep.
As proposed by the applicant required in this decision, each housing unit will be serviced by a public water supply from the Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks and a public sewer connection to the system operated by the Rockland Sewer Commission. I don't see a problem with that.
Should we put no occupancy permits will be granted unless they have the approval from the water and sewer?
That's a given. Tom would never give them occupancy permits unless they got that.
Well, they have permit to one,
He's got
One unit.
conditional water.
both water and sewer. Well, yeah, it says it has to.
Yeah, again, I'm trying to make this kind of like a boilerplate as proposed by the applicant required in the decision. Sound will be serviced by a public water supply from the Abington Public Sewer Connection from the system operated by the Rockland Sewer Commission. And again, if you want, we can add it. We can add kind of a catch-all phrase. No occupancy permits shall be granted unless approved connections are verified, something like that.
Mr. Chairman, just a question on form.
Please.
Is that something for inclusion in findings, or should that be a condition?
Yeah, see, that's why I'm trying to separate everything a little bit. But again, it's from the basics as that stands. I think that kind of covers it because this is all.
We can put that in as a condition.
Yeah, that can be a simple condition.
But in the Maplewood decision, it was a finding. And the finding, I mean, it was similar to what you have there, we said. And we said, as required in the decision, each dwelling unit will be serviced by a public water supply from the Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks and a public sewer connection to the system operated by Rockland Sewer Commission. And then the next condition was the one that you have here. We don't have the authority. So those are right from Maplewood.
Those are right from what we had before. Then I say we don't change them as long as it. Because again, I'm trying to make it a point that just make it easy going forward. So if 8 works, 9 works,
then it goes down. Yeah.
The applicant has supplied to the board a letter from the Rockland Sewer Commission in which the Rockland Sewer has indicated that the development has been pre-approved. I don't remember that.
What is that? I'm sorry.
Applicant has supplied to the board a letter from the Rockland Sewer Commission in which the Rockland Sewer Commission has indicated that development has been pre-approved to connect to the public sewer system.
No.
That is not. The granting of this comprehensive is subject to and conditioned on the presentation. On this presentation, it is not intended to waive the requirements of blah, blah, blah. That first sentence goes. I think we keep the rest of it.
Delete the first sentence.
Yep.
The granting of this is subject. So it would be subject to and conditioned on a letter from the Rockland Sewer Commission indicating that the development has been approved to connect to the public sewer system.
Very good. Number 11, the applicant proposes to connect its stormwater management system to the, no, that's not.
All right, question about that. It's not called the stormwater management system. What's it called?
Stormwater management system.
It is?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought it was referred to as something else. All right.
There's a whole bunch of different terminology, but the general, and Gregor can confirm this. There's a whole bunch of different terminology to it. But in the end, it is an on-site, it's an on-site stormwater management system.
All right.
That's correct. Stormwater management system is customarily what it's referred to, and that is correct to refer to it as a stormwater management system.
All right. So going forward, that'll be our standard term unless it's specifically designated otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the general. I mean, then there's the subsurface storage area, blah 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 blah, and there's all kinds of. But the whole thing, and everything as a whole, the catch basins, the drain manholes, the catchment area, right up to the roof leaders. It's all part of the stormwater management system.
Okay.
Correct.
Rob,
Yep.
where it says Rockland Highway Department,
I haven't got there yet. The applicant proposes connecting stormwater management into the town rights after on-site treatment. Okay, that's gone. The granting of this comprehensive permit is subject to and conditioned on this representation that it can connect to the and is not intended to waive. Okay, this is where we get the granting of this comprehensive. The applicant proposes. Greg, I'm going to need your help here. The applicant proposes to keep all stormwater runoff on site. Give me some better engineering terms that we can make this sound better.
The applicant proposes to connect its stormwater management system to the town of Rockland.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, after an on-site treatment detention. The granting of this comprehensive.
Going too far. I need you to, the first sentence only. Look at the first sentence only.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in its context.
Management system to the on-site stormwater system.
It's not working.
How about this? The applicant proposes to connect its stormwater management system into the town of Rockland's municipal stormwater system.
No, it's not. Dude, they're keeping it all on site.
May I interject? So,
yeah.
So I have to, just to interject, they propose to install a stormwater management system per their plans. And there is an overflow. So it does have a condition that where it overflows, but do we need to say anything more here than they will basically submit final plans, but they will install a system per their plans?
Yeah, no, you're right there. That's what I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to keep it simple. Deb, did you catch all that, or do you need Mr. Haynes to kind of repeat that a little bit?
No, I got it.
Okay, so the second sentence, granting this permit is subject and conditions on this representation that it will keep all stormwater, all stormwater generated on site, and is not intended to waive the requirements of the town of Rockland's Highway Department or to exercise any potential authority that the board might have under Chapter 40B, require the Rockland Highway to allow the development to connect to the. Yes, even that's got to go. Because we can't have anything in there that says anything about connecting to the municipal drainage system.
Okay,
So
we'll keep all stormwater collected on site, period.
Well, we simply have to, but it isn't the case, unfortunately. But so we just have to say that they will install a stormwater management system.
Right.
Per their plans.
Right.
Per their plans submitted.
And you could say meeting the performance standards that it represented during the permit process.
I like that too. Throughout the public hearing process, members of the public, including abutters, provided written and verbal testimony, which the board has carefully reviewed and taken into consideration in regarding its decision. The conceptual project design, subject to the conditions below, requiring some changes in the final site plans, is generally appropriate for the site as provided in this.
Is that 13?
That's 13.
Yeah, but any changes should be reviewed by.
We're not there yet, Bob. We're not there yet. That has to go way down. This is just, we're not, dude, we're at number 13. We had 107 on the other one. We have to get by just the kind of what we saw, at the beginning. That's why I think some of this stuff you don't even really need up here, but I just want to follow the format that we kind of got going. The conceptual project design, subject to the conditions below, requiring some changes in the final site plans. This is I don't like this. I don't know how. Because I don't think anybody agrees is generally appropriate for the site as provided in this thing.
But in the absence
Not
of that
sure.
language, how do we then approve the plan if that's our inclination?
I'm just not sure where that condition came from. I didn't see that in the Maplewood or anything like it. So I'm not sure where that one came from. Deb, can you talk to us about that?
Do you want me
condition?
to have Attorney Galvin clarify that?
Please.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of one of the required findings.
Hi.
Right.
Like,
Okay, well, if we're gonna approve this, then I guess that kind of has to stay as is.
okay.
Clarified.
That was pretty simple, Attorney Galvin.
Thanks.
I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't want to butt in because you were looking like you were having so much fun, but it's kind of simple.
The project that has conditioned below.
I just asked where it came from. So it wasn't in anything we discussed to this point. So that was a Galvin included into this.
I haven't read this one yet, Tim. But like I did with the other project for the schoolhouse apartments, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna edit it, and we'll make it into something we can live with.
Project as conditioned below is consistent with local needs as that term is defined in. That was a staple. The board finds that the conditions imposed in the following section are necessary in order. That was a staple. The board finds that the waivers that have been granted by this decision will cause. Whoa. The board finds that the waivers that have been granted by this decision will cause adverse.
Will not cause
adverse effect. I knew there's something.
I've in Maplewood, that is how it reads, and then it follows. However,
the board finds that.
Okay, it's the balancing of the concerns. Yeah.
Yep. Now you're valid. Now I see that. Therefore, the board finds that this decision is consistent with local needs. Okay, that's fine.
Right. So
Financing for the mass
Will
housing.
they cause or will they not cause?
will cause.
Will cause.
Okay.
Financing for the development is to be provided by mass housing under the,
I've got that as a strikeout.
Okay.
It's not the max housing mixed income permanent financing program. You have to look at their
I'll
project
verify that.
eligibility letter to determine it.
I will.
The quorum of the zoning board of appeals consisting of me, Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Baker Senior, Mr. Baker Junior. This is a 5-member, correct? Because I know shingle mills are 4. So as far as I remember, this has always been a 5.
5, yep.
Being all the members of the Board of Appeals designated to hear and act upon this stuff, voted at a public hearing, and that's just has to be updated, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where we start imposing the conditions. Development subject to further conditions contained herein shall be constructed in accordance with the plans referenced and defined herein, as limited by the conditions of the decision, and the deviation from these plans and conditions is set forth in the ZBA shall require. Yep, that's going, that's staying in. Next one, not less than 30 days prior to either the anticipated date of commencement or construction or the submission of application for building permits, whichever is earlier, the final site plan, the applicant shall deliver to the board and the board's consulting engineer final detailed site plans, the final site plans, which are of quality. Verify, or are we just letting that go as is?
Just, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think that's identical to what we had the last time.
Okay.
I think so. It feels right.
Would that construction mean them clearing the land and bringing in the fill?
The anticipated date of commencement of construction. Yeah, that's basically it. That's basically when they start to build the site. Okay, building height, drainage, and parking. We kind of already took care of that up top. That's why I didn't want to go too in depth up top. The final site plans shall include, but not be limited to, the adverse effect of the proposed height of the proposed buildings, limited to 25.4 feet measured from the garage floor elevation. Its massing and scale so close. Massing and scale so close to 2.5-story abutting. I like this so far.
I think we might have to work on some of the language
Yeah,
there.
you do.
It's massing and scale so close to that. I don't mind that though. Final site plans as agreed to by the applicant during the public hearing shall also eliminate outdoor. Yeah, he didn't do that.
So I think, was there something about like setbacks?
That's under waivers and variances.
Okay, okay. All
All
right, so I'll strike the decking.
Yeah, we can't, I'd love to strike the decking, but, and unfortunately we can't. Of existing, final site plan agreed by the applicant during the public hearing. Okay. Final site plans shall include, but not be limited to, the adverse effect of the proposed building height of the proposed buildings.
I don't understand that sentence. Can somebody?
It really just needs to be simple. The height of the final building design shall be limited to X number of feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you should put in your number, Rob.
Yep.
So yeah, I
25.
have it, 20,
So what is the
25.4 feet.
it's
25.4 feet measured from the garage floor, elevation.
Says 25.1 here
I know, that's just because I had different
on the
notes.
garage floor.
So it's
is that the
25,
ridge, Rob, or is that the
Ridge height, overall height.
and we don't want them to build this site up either, right?
They have no choice. They have to.
yeah.
Well, any more than they have.
Yeah, any more than what they're proposing.
So the proposed grade shall be on the as on the final plans or the approved plans.
Yep. Footprint for dwellings on concept plan shall be that's got to be different. The footprint of dwellings as shown on proposed architectural plans shall not be different. And I don't know if we can say that though. The footprint for dwellings as shown on submitted plans
You say shall not exceed.
shall not exceed the dimensions as shown
On the approved plans.
on the approved plan. I feel like there's too many approved plans in the same sentence. For dwellings as shown on
The final plans.
final plans shall be in substantial conformance with the initial design plans as reviewed by the board. Something along those lines.
Sure. And if you don't mind in saying, then including, the footprint sizes.
Yep.
The setbacks,
Yep.
the cantilevering.
Yep. Yeah, dude, Tim, give me a list if you want. I mean, I want you to be as
I'm reading it here from the draft.
Okay.
So I'm like, those things should still be in there.
Okay.
Dude, is this where we want to throw in the 8-foot ceiling height?
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the, it comes down to it's going to affect the building height, drainage and parking unless there's another place that we should be putting in. Because again,
specify the ceiling height when he was specifying the building height?
well, not really, because the only reason why I say that is because, okay, if he wants to, let's say he wants to do a 10-foot ceiling height on the basement floor, he wants to do a 7-foot high on the other floor. That's what he wants to do. That's fine, but Tom's never going to allow him to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's some stuff doesn't have to be said, I think. But again, it's whatever everybody feels like. If we want to throw that number in, we throw it in. I don't see a problem with that.
He said because when the architect mentioned 9-foot ceilings, he says, what? He says, I only put in 8 foot at the
No,
most,
I
on
think-
any other building that I've done.
Really? I heard him, I heard that one a little bit differently.
I think he likes the 9-foot height.
Yeah, it sounds like he does like the 9-foot height, but
Maybe it was the opposite way, I'm not sure.
regardless, it's never gonna work with anything other than 8-foot ceilings. There's no way that it could. Because based on what he's already showing us, you got 8, then a 1, then an 8, then a 1, then you pitch. So it's the only way it's gonna work.
I just felt like that was his solution to meeting the height limit,
Exactly.
He's
That's
got-
exactly what it was.
rather than being something we have to demand.
Right.
Well, he does. Yeah, I feel like he could clip the corners, raise his collar ties. There's lots of ways that he can have ceiling height and the lower ridge height and leave the roof substantially the way that it is. He's most likely to actually just create a multi-level home. You know, he's going to sink the living portion of the basement and make
Isn't that
it
kind of what he was thinking in the beginning? And like that's what he was like advertising, you know what I mean?
he said it over and over, just the drawings never came. But so I'm, like I said in the hearing, I'm open to his proposal. It just should match whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
So if we say if we say the proposed ridge height, there was something in here before about him agreeing to it. So the agreed upon ridge height of the building shall not exceed 25.4. And then we should say, I'm ambivalent about whether we want to hold him to the 8 feet or let him figure out how to get there.
Okay.
But I'm with Greg that it should not be at the cost of like really, really shallow pitched roofs.
Oh yeah.
So
That's a great.
Give him the 25-4 and let him figure out how he's gonna make that fit.
Very simple.
So we're not gonna put ceiling height then anywhere. We're gonna let him figure it out. Okay.
Yeah. We're not
Here's the
gonna
height.
design these things.
All right. Got it.
No.
Okay.
All right, so the only other thing in that, under this number 3, the only thing that we were talking about is the building. There's no drainage and no parking really in
Yep.
this-
Okay.
in that section.
Yep.
Number 4, project shall include no more than 4 units of single-family housing and no more than 4 buildings. Okay, it's not bad. The total maximum number of bedrooms shall be 12, and the maximum number of units and the maximum number of bedrooms shall be listed in the following table. Number of units, 4 3-bedroom, 4 times 3 is 12. Any discussion? That seems right.
Good.
With respect to the
Why
application.
aren't we saying that there's just 4 3-bedroom units? And there was language we reviewed earlier in our conversations about 4 3-bedroom units with like inability to convert bedrooms or any other space into bedrooms in the future.
Yeah, inability to convert the garage space.
Space.
Who said that? Somebody said that. I remember that.
That was
Something about not being able to convert non-living quarters into living quarters. But we have
this was Maplewood number 3. So the dwelling units in the development shall have, in their case, it was either 3 or 4. So in our case, we're saying the dwelling units in the development, shall have 3 bedrooms. The units shall be constructed substantially in accordance with the square footage and architectural style shown on the architectural plans. No additional habitable space not indicated on the architectural plan shall be added, and no habitable space not indicated on the architectural plans as a bedroom shall be converted to a bedroom by the applicant or by future owners of the units. So
Deb, remind the board, the Maple Woods decision We didn't have a Word document for that, right?
Correct, we did not.
Okay, that's part of the problem. We didn't have it. There's a lot of typing involved. We're trying to go with whatever's easiest at this point. But still gets the point across. That's the whole thing. So number 4.
I can pull that wording out of Maplewood and just add it,
Done.
the non-living. So that's number 3 in Maplewood.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
With respect to the applicant's request for waivers from local bylaws and regulations, the board approves only those waivers listed in attachment 1. There shall be no waiver for any building. There shall be no waiver of any building, water, sewer, or other utility connection, systems, development, or other permit or inspectional fees. Projects must comply with the bylaws and regulations not waived. Only those waivers listed in attachment 1, obviously. There shall be no waiver of any building, water, sewer, or other utility.
That's the normal condition, Rob.
That's normal. All right, I'm going to leave that as is then. The board specifically disapproves of the applicant's proposal to wheel out trash and
That's
recycling.
not relevant to this one. So what do you want me to throw in for trash?
Uh,
Well, what are they gonna do for trash?
Trash
It'll
barrels.
be ordinary municipal trash or private trash.
The municipal won't pick it up.
They,
Oh, it's a condominium. They won't. Where's
Right.
the dumpster going?
I thought
Oh,
you said,
remember, so these developments exist all over the place. So
Okay.
what they would typically have are, each one of them would have a regular trash barrel and a recycling barrel. And then the individual unit owners, in this case, where it's only 4 units, would be responsible to bring that out to the street on a weekly basis. Just
Okay.
like if it was a single family residence.
I totally just screwed up here. What number were we looking at?
6.
6. There will be no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
right there. You go back up a little bit.
I go too far? I totally scrolled when I should
You
have.
just kept.
So
Try
language-
11, Rob.
Deb, the language for the trash that we
That's right.
discussed in our
Oh, sorry. No.
already was number 47. And it was each unit to have its own trash receptacles, no common dumpsters.
Oh, it is 6. Okay, sorry.
So that was 47 from Maplewood.
Okay. So you're gonna take, so it sounds like number 6 on this is gonna be 47 from Maplewood. I can make that.
Should I drop off this? I have a whole color coding from our conversation, from our discussion about this.
Kim, send it to me.
And copy me.
Final site plans shall also show the location of building and streetlights. We didn't require any streetlights. Include a final grading plan, which, yeah, that's what we need, a landscaping plan, architectural plans, erosion control plan, utilities plan. Yep. Stormwater management plans, drainage calculations, and stormwater operation and maintenance plan. Temporary snow storage and snow removal in any storm with plowable snow. I got no problem with that,
What about
Other than-
streetlights?
other than the streetlights. We didn't require streetlights, and I don't remember him showing streetlights other than lights out in front of the individual.
Yeah, lamp post for each lot.
Okay,
I guess could you call that building lights?
building light, yeah, delete and street.
Yeah, I guess, because they're not streetlights, they're
Well,
property
there's probably post lamps and, sconces by the door and the garages. And, those can be shielded from view so not to shed light onto any abutting property.
Yeah.
Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a lighting plan to the board. Oh, that takes care of that one. All exterior lighting on the site. So that takes care of, so you don't have to put that in 7. In addition, the applicant shall deliver to the board, the building commissioner, and the board's consulting on a construction mitigation plan, including but not limited to dust control measures, fill, delivery schedules, and proof of trench permits and the like matters. Don't have a problem there. Anybody have a problem?
Nope.
Shall be a designated construction route for all construction traffic coming must be approved by the Rockland Police Department. All construction traffic shall access the site by the southeasterly end. I don't know if we can say this.
We're not. That's
I
coming
actually
out.
don't think you want to concentrate it on one way or the other.
So I'm gonna use the wording in, from Lieutenant Zioli.
All right, no construction shall commence and no building permits shall be issued under this comprehensive until the board in consultation with the board's consulting engineer.
So,
has approved.
so you got to remember, that's going to be in unlawful condition subsequent. That means you've given them approval, but you really haven't given them approval. The final building plans have to be determined by Mr. Rubel and Pat Brennan to be consistent with the comprehensive permit decision. And as long as they're consistent, then the board should not retain any rights unless there's a dispute about whether it's consistent, and then it comes back to the board.
Deb, did you get all that?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna reword it for,
is that number 11?
Number 11.
I'm just gonna put Attorney Galvin.
yep, I'm gonna revert it.
Okay,
If no written response or comments have been given to the applicant by the board concerning the final site plans within 30 days after the final site plan submitted, the final site plans as delivered will be deemed to have been approved by the board.
That'll be subsumed to the change that I make to 11.
Okay. Single-family housing units in development shall have 3 bedrooms subject to the maximum set forth above. All 4 of the units shall have 3 bedrooms. The units shall be constructed substantially. No addition. There we go. All right. So there it is.
No roof area or mechanical equipment.
Yep. So
Well, the only problem is I don't think we can prohibit them from installing solar on the roof.
Mhm. Oh, no, I meant that it doesn't, that clause doesn't apply, right? Use of the roof areas shall be limited to for mechanical use only.
Yeah, that's more of a schoolhouse apartments
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah, that doesn't apply.
That doesn't apply.
I'll take that out.
all right. So number 13, I know we were saying that. We were also saying that above a couple of conditions prior to this.
Do you want it here or there?
It's either way. It doesn't matter as long as it's stated, because either way, it's both conditions were stating the same thing. So as long as there's not a major difference between the two, then one can get stricken. But if there's a major difference between the two, then the one above, take out anything that has to do with the habitable space and stuff.
Yeah. The one above just stated that there will be 4 houses. This doesn't state, number 13 doesn't state there are 4 houses.
All 4 units, all 4 units. They'll have 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
This is the language that
You wanted
that we were going to substitute in the other spot.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll leave 13 as 13 and I'll get rid of it in the other place.
Correct.
This is more restrictive to the bedrooms versus living area.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
Again, if there's just read the 2 of them. If there's a major difference between the 2, kind of just separate them.
Yep.
And again, another number 14. We already talked about parking further up. I think we should take it out from the top. And just deal with it here.
Yeah, because this talks about striping and handicap and all that.
Exactly.
rental housing.
That should come out.
Each condominium unit shall be assigned to 4 parking spaces, 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway. And period. With any additional spaces assigned, gone.
Yep.
Site plans shall include a modified parking plan. Nope.
All
Nope.
right.
Nope. Shall be constructed with concrete part. Nope. final site plan, so sounds like all the way up from there can get going. Final site plan shall show this is where we start talking about the striping. The striping and the
Agreed.
parking signs and all that stuff.
Yeah, final
This is where
site plan showing the striping and no parking signs.
Yeah, this is where we get specific on that. Up there, I think we can, up in the ones and twos, I think we can limit that a little bit. This is where we get to the actual parking requirements.
But we gotta take out all the parking space striping. If not, they're gonna have to stripe their driveway.
Yeah, that's why I took it all out.
Are they not required to have any handicap parking
No.
anywhere?
No, they're residential.
But it's for unit development. Okay,
Not for this, not for
Okay.
this.
okay.
Yeah, so each rental, so we know, and then the final place, this final site plan shall show, and then it's gonna be location of no parking signs, location of striped, I'm blanking here. Final site plan shall show the location of all no parking signs, comma, the location of striped no parking areas. But the problem is that they're not really fully defined on the other one. Defined as the required turnaround and backup area as shown on, you remember what site plan that was, Tim? There it is.
Yep, T1.
Shown on, yep. That'll take care of that. $25% of the 4 single-family housing units or 1 unit, the affordable unit, shall be restricted in perpetuity by means of regulatory agreement enforceable by the. Bob, does that work for this?
Well, there's not going to be any. Are you talking about the regulatory agreement stuff?
Yeah, the regular. Yeah,
that doesn't apply.
That doesn't apply to this. Okay.
No, that's for rental units.
Okay. Shall be restricted in perpetuity by means of.
By means of a deed restriction.
Restriction. Okay. By means of a deed restriction. The applicant shall provide a designation of the location of the affordable unit for the board's review and approval. Affordable unit shall be indistinguishable from the market rate units on the exterior. So basically, the affordable unit can't have vinyl siding, like everybody else has clapboards.
A couple of things have changed since Maplewood, and they have changed because of the decisions of the Housing Appeals Committee. We don't get to determine where the affordable unit is anymore. It's up to the subsidizing agency, but the affordable unit does have to be indistinguishable from the market rate units on the exterior. It just doesn't typically have the same fit and finish on the inside.
Right.
Okay. So we can't have them painted fluorescent orange?
No. And then you don't have to worry about it dispersing it throughout the project. That's where you have multiple affordable units. And that's where they have to be dispersed amongst the type of units and in location. So
Step number 15, put a Bob Galvin on that. He seems to be, he's got that on lock.
Yep.
Affordable unit shall be the primary residence of the buyer, qualifying for order, and shall not be sold, rented, or subleased without the prior permission of the monitoring agent. That seems staple from what we had. I don't have a problem there. To the extent permitted preference. No.
You know, again, in terms of the affordable units, we have to do a lot of work in order to get our local preference. And, right now, we're not equipped to be able to do the type of study that would justify that. I mean, I'll include the local preference language that I know is acceptable in, all right? So that's me on 17.
All right, so 17, 18 looks like it's the same lottery that we had going on. Conducted by the board.
Yeah, we don't get to approve it. It's done by the subsidizing agency now, so I'll fix that.
Okay. The rental price of the affordable
Yeah,
unit shall be.
that doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply, represented by the development will not be constructed in phases. In the event that the development is constructed in phases, no occupancy permit shall be
Yeah,
issued.
we're not going to do phases.
Okay. The affordable unit shall not be segregated from the market rate units to the extent that certain units in the development are likely to be of greater value than everything other than all of this, I think works.
I think you just want not being constructed in phases.
Okay.
So, Bob, just to clarify, if it's not being constructed in phases, then he can't build one, sell one, then go on building it. Everything is.
Yeah, Bob, what I mean by that is you can't build one unit 1 year and then say, okay, phase 2, I'm going to do 2 years later, and phase 3, I'll do the last unit. They're all supposed to be built at the same time.
All right. So, I mean, from a practical standpoint, then does that mean that he can't sell them individually? So at some point, let's say 3 of them are sold, all at market rate, and something happens to the company, something happens, whatever, and that fourth unit, the affordable unit, doesn't end up getting built. What happens then?
So the subsidizing agency won't let them do that. They won't let them sell off all the market rate units and then refuse to build the affordable.
Thank you.
So do we want to submit the occupancy permits or no?
Well,
First
I'll
sentence
probably
only.
rewrite 20 to make sure that it's clear that the affordable unit should be built contemporaneously with the market rate units, and that, you won't probably sell all of the market rate units until the at least the affordable unit is sold.
So get rid of all that.
I'll fix it.
All right. Prior to the issuance of building permits, the applicant shall submit for the town council approval all regulatory and other documents that are necessary in order to access and maintain the roadways. Blah, 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 blah. You good with that, Bob?
Yep.
It refers to you, so. Guarantee condominiums, which shall provide for mandatory, yep. The regulatory agreement, lottery, and condominium association monitoring center, as well as any other documents which are required in order to properly restrict, maintain, and manage development shall be submitted to the town council. Again, that's that anything that refers to town council, I'm going to put a BG on because that's him specifically. The lottery and the monitoring shall be entitled to reasonable fees as may be designated in the lottery and monitoring services agreement. Yes.
Yeah.
Seems to
What
work.
number? I'm sorry. What number?
23.
Okay, thank you.
During construction, the applicant shall conform to all local, state, and federal noise. Yeah, shall all times use all reasonable means to minimize inconvenience to residents in the general area. Yep. Construction activities shall be limited to weekdays between the hours of 7 and 6, and Saturdays between the hours of 7 and 3.
Yes. You gotta get the neighbors some kind of relief.
No, that should be fine. And Saturdays between the hours of 7 and 3. because again, working on Saturdays, it's a lot of times it takes an hour to set up, an hour to break down. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
But if one of the neighbors is having a party, they don't want to see excavators and everything else at 4 or 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
No, I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I'm just making sure the numbers are there. No, I'm just making sure the numbers are there and the times there. And that's a reasonable work day. That's a reasonable work day for Saturday. No construction shall occur on Sundays or state federal holidays. include the deliveries, construction activities. So far, so good. There shall be no staging of construction vehicles or equipment on Concord Street, nor shall there be any offloading on Concord Street. All activities shall be limited to the work zone.
I probably should weigh in on this. The minute they get a bulldozer there to clear that lot, move dirt around, they're never going to be able to do that just off site. I mean, there's inevitably something that's going to have to be offloaded. I mean, a landscaping truck now that might work for a residential landowner is going to have the Bobcat unload on Concord Street. So, I mean, and the trailer, shouldn't be obstructing passing vehicles in any way, shape, or form, other than for, incidentally for a moment. And that's the type of thing you have to have here. I mean, someone's gonna be able to dump a porta potty off, or someone has got to be able to dump a Bobcat off. So, but there shouldn't be any ongoing loading and loading in the street unless absolutely is, essential or something like that. But
Bob,
I
in
think that should be
regard,
reworded.
Can we make a distinction between offloading equipment versus offloading material? And I see your point about the Bobcat or the bulldozer or whatever.
Well, I think like the one that I can think of that would be most relevant here is you're going to have a forklift that's going to come on a lumber truck. Okay. And they're not likely to be able to drive the lumber truck in there because the driveway won't be there. And, if you do, you'll probably cause more problems on Concord Street as the truck tries to come in and out. So that forklift, which is usually fits right on the back of the truck, will dump off, and it'll come momentarily and get the first stack, second stack, and third stack, and drive it on and attach itself back up to the truck, and they'll be off. So I think as long as there's no ongoing blockage, incidental offloading would be permissible during the construction phase only.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, this was one of the things that we had that I think we all had an issue with. I thought
in our conversation, previously we said that basically any stopping, any blocking of Concord Street, was at least required to be approved and discussed with the police.
Right. I'll clean
remember,
up.
yeah, that's where I was going to.
Yep.
That's where I was going to, because again, I know how small the site is. And Bob's right. Once you get a dozer out there, once you get one excavator out there, you may not even have enough room to really get a front end loader out there to really be able to move stuff around. And then you still have to have a dump truck backing in to dump everything off. So I understand where he's going, but, and I know where these people are going to park. They're not going to be able to pull off the pavement enough to be able to make this all happen.
They park on anybody, even a threat on the people's property, and they're going to be calling the police.
Oh yeah. So there's gotta be some. There has to be something in here, absolutely 100% binding to any and all.
I think that the construction vehicles, shall not unduly, inhibit, vehicles from passing and repassing on Concord Street.
Can we require them to have a detail?
Maybe we could say, in the event of any interruption in traffic, the applicant shall be responsible to retain and pay for, a appropriate police detail. Sure.
I think that's respectable at this point, because again, it's going to take, even if it's to deliver lumber, it's going to be a pain in the butt for him to be able to get in there, get around, lift it all up. And he's literally going to have to back the thing into the site to make a 180-degree maneuver to get this to drop his load on site. So I see a lot of issues on this, but as long as we can have something in there that says look, if you're gonna keep blocking the street, you're gonna have to have a detail.
Should they just coordinate with the Rockland Police Department?
For any and all equipment offloading?
No, I think what
Well,
you
if they
say,
put-
in the
if
event
they
that
restrict
there's going to be any
traffic.
blockage of any town roads associated with the construction, the applicant shall retain a police detail. Bam.
There. Done. Nice, simple, and easy. Does that, I think that works. You guys tell me.
I agree.
Okay. Temporary construction signage, no parking between signs shall be put up at the lot lines of the property along Concord Street. I think we already talked about that. I think that was one of the things that we wanted in that very first meeting that we had.
I think those are all shown on the site plan. I think we found them all.
Okay. Adequate provision shall be made by the applicant to control and minimize dust on the site during construction and prevent deposit of materials on Concord Street. Shall be stabilized and maintained at all times, and an access and egress on site in an area 50-foot long and during construction is to be machine swept daily by the applicant at its cost, at their cost, for a distance of 500 feet in both directions from the project entrance, permanent or temporary, at the end of the day.
You know, what you could say here is at the discretion of the board's peer review consultant who's going to manage this.
Oh, the highway department superintendent.
Yeah, I'd rather go with the highway superintendent.
Pat's gonna charge
Remember when Mr. and Mrs. Smith built a house on Concord Street and they track materials into the street, we don't require them to do anything. Okay.
We do now.
So
Now.
We're out there and we make them sweep it.
I agree. So what I think that the frequency of which shall be determined, really by
the highway superintendent.
by the highway superintendent.
All right. Yeah, there. Throw it on Dave.
Yeah, he's gonna
So
think.
Dave does a drive-by every day at the end of construction.
Yeah, and I think he would do that. I think he would do that. And if there's a problem, he calls them up and says, "Hey guys, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
So
He goes that
Okay.
way.
all right, so we got that. Actually, he does go by that. He probably would go by that way.
Yeah.
Um,
And the senior foreman lives 2 houses up from him.
the applicant dash condominium shall be responsible until and unless the project is sold, and thereafter the applicant's successors shall be responsible for the installation, operation, and maintenance of all aspects of the facility. Copy of initial management contract. I think that's pretty much where we need to be on that one.
Should we put in there too, Rob, is if it is sold, that the board be notified of the new owners?
Oh, yeah. I think they'd have to. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they don't.
Even if it's after it's built, though, he could say, hey, I don't wanna be the owner of the condo association, so.
Not gonna be. He's not gonna own it. He's not gonna own any of this.
He is selling it.
Selling each individual off. It shall be the applicant shall be responsible until and unless the project is sold, and thereafter, the applicant's successors and assigns, and then put in condominium association in parentheses. Yeah, the applicant shall be responsible until and unless the project is sold.
Should be the applicant and then the condominium association.
Okay.
But what if he gets approval of this and then sells it without even doing anything?
Well, he'll still have a condominium association. And the
Even before-
condominium association,
Yeah.
he'll probably be the initial, trustee of the condominium trust, but then he'll resign. And the rest of the homeowners, the condo owners will be the new trustees.
Yep.
But if he gets approval and then the 21 days appeal goes by and everything else, and he sells it to another developer without putting a stick of machinery or anything there, shouldn't we be able to have him or the new owner come before the board?
It would be required, Bob, that the new owner receive your approval as a de minimis change.
Okay.
Yep, it's always required. You can't transfer it without the board's approval.
Okay. All right, and on that note, number 26, we're gonna end off on number 26. Unless everybody wants to continue, it's getting late. So I'd like to say that we can. And technically, I don't think we ever closed the public hearing. So I think we're still within the public hearing end of it.
I thought we closed the public hearing.
Did close it? All right.
Yeah.
We have a written extension, though, from the applicant, Lou Petrozzi, to file a decision by June 10th.
So we got a little time in there.
Really.
So
like I did with the last one, I'll take what we have now and I'll try to bring it to speed to help Deb along now. And you all.
All right, so you're gonna get the update and basically everything that we talked about tonight on this draft. You're gonna get a copy of that, kind of whip through it a little bit. And we'll go through it, and we're on number 26. Based on this, we have 105 that we have to go through. So we're.
You know what? I think we'll be able to narrow some of them down.
Okay. All right.
Well, it goes from if it helps, Rob, it goes from 69 to 105. Like it only jumps up.
Oh, you're kidding me.
It's just the numbering.
60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 69, and then, thank God.
Thank you very much for that news, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. All right. So we're still in a reasonably good situation. So that's not too bad.
You didn't type 35 of them up, did you?
Say again?
You didn't forget to type up 35 of them, did you?
I didn't type nothing here. So
I deleted them.
Okay.
Good. All right. So we got something to work with. We got a decent decent draft to work with. Goes to Bob. Bob will whip through this. We'll go through. We'll go through one more time. We'll go through one. We'll do from the beginning through to number 26. We'll whip through them, make sure that it's how we want it, and then from 26 on down. Again, it should be a whip through, but knowing that 26 all the way to the end, we're still kind of iffy about. But I think we're good. at this point. All right. So if we've already closed the public hearing, do we have to do anything else, or can I just hit end and everything goes home?
Are you going to post? Did you post a meeting for Thursday?
Do we want to do a meeting for Thursday? I think it's posted. It really comes down to, are you going to be able to have stuff done for Thursday?
I'll get you something.
I'll get you something. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I'll get you something.
Well, I did my job the last time.
I know.
I'll get it done.
All right. Anybody got a problem with a Thursday night meeting?
What, this week?
Yeah, this week.
I'm good. Even though I'm not voting, I'm good.
The only thing that we got posted is this, though, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if we stick to this, we should be able to bang this out in a couple of hours. And then once that's all said and done, once we're happy with everything, then it's probably one more run through 100% from beginning to end, make sure we're good, and we can probably make the vote that night. Whether we approve or disapprove.
Would be June 7th. We'd have to do it by June 7th to get it for the 10th. To be done by the 10th.
Deb, is that correct?
Unless we schedule another hearing on the night of the 9th for very minor revisions.
We'll get it done. I'm not worried.
Yeah, we should get it done because we're probably gonna end up continuing next week's hearing anyway, which is Piano Mill.
Okay. Love to see. All right. So everybody good with a couple hour meeting on Thursday night?
I think what you should do is make sure the agenda is posted for Thursday, and then Deb should also post the agenda for next week before the end of the business on Thursday, so you can discuss it potentially on Tuesday, the 7th.
Okay.
Deb, can you send out a new updated calendar?
I have to revise it. I've just been so busy. I haven't had a
I
chance,
know.
but yes, I will.
Thanks.
It's on my list.
Okay. Is that something you're able to set up on Google that we'd be able to like just open it up and see it's updated? I know there's a way to do that with that program sometimes, but
I'm trying to get it to a point where the zoning board has our own calendar on our webpage.
Yeah.
That we can all access and go to, and it's gonna have everything on there. The problem is that it's not something that's created. We have to deal with IT to make that happen. If that's something that works for everybody, gives everybody a place that they can all go to. I just think it works better. I think it works better. Plus, it also gives every other board and every other department the ability to go to the zoning board's webpage and go, oh, what are they doing? Because we can't put them on the main webpage, the main calendar on the webpage. So I'd like to have our own personal one, more so for our purposes, each board member's purposes, but not for, the agendas are still going to be posted, on the other one. But
yeah,
again, we're working with that. See if it's possible. It's not like Deb doesn't have, it's not like Deb has like a ton of stuff to do. So it's like, I feel like adding one more thing onto her pile or onto her desk. I don't think that's such a bad thing. You're gonna shoot me.
I just put it on my list.
Which, you develop the calendar or shoot Rob?
At this
No
point,
comment.
I'll
no comment.
again, if it's still
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, I can.
Okay, first, I want to clarify. So we're meeting Thursday night at 7:30, meeting. And then on next Tuesday's agenda, I will add discussions for this again, and then we'll take it from there. Hopefully that's a wrap.
Discussion and potential vote.
Yep, okay,
Rocking.
okay.
All right, so that works for everybody.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion. I got a second. I don't remember who seconded. Did somebody second it? I think I had a second. So Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
and Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes, sir.
Get out of here, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
No.
Talk to you,
gentlemen.